the Elite. The reason why I say that is because the Elite, of course, have been teased last week. We know they're coming back. There was that graphic that we saw, that video package where they disappeared. They were being erased from history. There was a few people questioning if that meant that they were done with AEW. And I'm sure many of you actually think the opposite. I think it's all to do with their return to AEW, because it wouldn't make any sense to just erase them from the past and then just move on. Like, it feels like the story we're telling is, could you imagine the history of AEW without the Elite? Hence why they were being erased from the past. And they're maybe going to come back as heels, upset that people aren't giving them, chanting their names, aren't giving them the attention that they feel they should be getting. Because if it wasn't for the Elite, would we even have AEW? Probably not, to be honest. I do think Tony Khan would still have been very interested in setting up a company, but you can't set up a company unless there's loads of names that are going to bring in eyes and bring in viewers. So, Kenny, Young Bucks, Jericho, Cody, Hangman, it was the perfect time, because you had that group that had really connected with fans that were outside of the WWE bubble. It was the perfect time for Tony Khan to come along, spend his money, gather them all up, and then start the AEW train. And what a train it's been. It's been rumbling along now for a few years. Obviously debatable as to whether it's in good health or if it's in decline in health. I think it's doing all right. All things considered. I think it's holding its own. So we'll have to see what the big development is tonight, what the big news is tonight. I'm leaning towards it being the Elite. And the return of the Elite. But we'll have to wait and see. Tony said Saudi Arabia might not happen. Saudi Arabia is obviously the hot topic in wrestling today. The news coming out from the Saudi Arabian government that they feel that an attack is imminent. And it's very unusual for the Saudi Arabian government to make such a public statement. I know people have said, there's always attacks going on and things like this, but we don't hear of the government reaching out onto the international stage saying, we think there's going to be an attack coming from Iran very soon. It seems like this could be a big attack. Clearly, they've got some intelligence that is concerning them. And in this current environment, in this current climate, I can't see any reason why you would put a load of wrestlers over there. I don't give a flip if you think you've got extra security. I don't give a flip if you think that you've got this under control. How can anyone that is sat in Connecticut that is associated with WWE, how can they, hand on heart, think that they have got this under control? No flipping way. No way. No way. There is no way they have got this under control. They can come out with some nice lines saying, we've got some extra security and we're working with intelligence services, and they can come out with all of these lines, but there is no way they can guarantee safety in that environment. Too many moving parts, too unpredictable, too explosive. It's just, there's too much. It's too much. Like, I'm someone that I'm not a fan of them going to Saudi Arabia. I would not say that, what I just said, if I genuinely didn't think it. Like, if I thought that they could get away with it, or if it's all being blown out of proportion, then I'd be like, well, I'm sure it's fine. But I just, why run the risk with wrestlers' lives? Why can't you reschedule? I don't understand. Why can't we reschedule? Like, I understand it's disappointing. Like, you can't do it in November, or let's do it in December. Let's do it in January. Let's do it in March or April, or I'm sure we can find a Saturday that we can get over to Saudi Arabia to do the show. Like, why does it have to be now? and in a different country as well. I mean, I don't think you can be confident of being safe and secure with extra security if this was America. Even if you was in America and America heard of an imminent attack, right? Say there was an imminent attack within the next 48 hours, there's going to be an attack in America. I don't think even with extra security, you can be confident and safe and happy that, like, you know, things are going to be fine and that you can put on a gathering of that size. I understand that after 9/11, they were one of the first companies to actually put on like a big gathering of people, and they got a lot of praise for that. But I'm not sure, like, if there was any evidence of any follow-up attacks. I don't know if there was any intelligence that was saying that more attacks were on the way. I'm not aware of anything along those lines. This is different because there is intelligence of an attack. There is talk of there being an attack in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, we don't know where. But these lines of we're taking extra security, I find them insulting. I find them like it's just political, just nonsense. I mean, you cannot. There's a threat. There's a problem. There's an imminent attack. We've got intelligence of it. There is no conversation. There is no conversation. There is nothing else to say. There is an imminent attack in the country that you're going to do a show. And they're saying it's going to be within, say, 48 hours. It's going to be really close to when WWE go over. Why are we still going ahead with this? It's just an absolute no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. If something goes wrong, it doesn't even bear thinking about. It does not even bear thinking about. So I don't buy it. I don't care what they say. I think there is absolutely no way that anyone in WWE, no way that they can be comfortable, happy, 100%. We've got extra security. We're going to go to Saudi Arabia. It's going to be fine. It's going to be all under control. How can someone sat in Connecticut that works for a wrestling company, how could they possibly know that? How could they possibly ever know that? They couldn't. So there is going to be a degree of risk, and there is going to be a degree of gambling. And why are we doing that with wrestlers' lives? Why are we doing that? When we can reschedule? Like, I'm not saying cancel the show, don't give them the show, but why now? Why are we doing it? I don't know. It's madness to me. This is madness. Madness. So I must admit, when I first saw the news, I didn't know enough about it. I didn't know where the report had come from. Now I'm seeing that it's coming from the actual government, and that they're saying that, 48 hours, like, you kind of go, this is insane. This is insane. The only thing that I would say is if, like, it's just someone that's kind of spoken out that maybe has blown things out of proportion. Perhaps the government themselves are like, no, everything's fine. Maybe there's one person but where's that one person? But I don't even know if that's the case. I mean, it's been all tweeted out and everything, so it can't just be one person blowing it out of proportion. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It makes me nervous. It makes me concerned. I must admit, I know the human rights record in Saudi Arabia is atrocious, and I understand that going over there, it feels like going over there is a way of Saudi Arabia kind of presenting themselves as, a nice country, a welcoming country. Come and visit us. We're open to the world. We're just like you. Yeah. And for the people that live there, they absolutely are. And this is nothing against the people. This is all about the government. This is all about their government. And we're not going to get super political. But my feelings on it were, well, at least the wrestlers will be all right. Do you know what I mean? The wrestlers will go over there. Wrestlers are going to be all right. There's no one's in any harm. Like, I've never felt like anyone's in any risk. But it's just a case of they're using wrestling to make Saudi Arabia look like, a great country. Come and visit. Like, it's all, they call it sport washing, don't they? Sport washing. That's what they're doing. They're sport washing. Kevin Owens won't go. Sami Zayn won't go. There's people that will not go over there because they don't agree with what's happening, but they're not in danger when they go. So it's not like we're nervous for their health, or we're nervous because they're not going to make it back. I mean, this is a completely different kettle of fish, man. This is. Could you imagine being one of them wrestlers? Could you imagine being the family of one of those wrestlers? Could you imagine being Roman Reigns' kids? Could you imagine being like his wife? Could you imagine being like the husband of, I don't know, flipping Bailey, Bianca, whatever? Like you'd be nervous. You'd be nervous of these people going over, you know. So, and then the wrestlers themselves, they're going to want to get there and get out, aren't they? It's crazy. AR1 said, have the show at the Performance Center, reschedule the Saudi trip next year instead of Money in the Bank. Yeah, it's true. You could reschedule it. I mean, like you could, I'm sure you, I understand that for this Saturday, are you going to find an arena? Are you going to find an arena and are you going to be able to put on a show this weekend? I mean, a decision has to be made. Seemingly the decision is we're going to Saudi Arabia. That's the decision. The decision is we're gonna go. We're gonna put on extra security, and you know I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Seems to be the attitude that we're taking. I'm sure they have looked at alternatives. I've no doubt that they've looked at alternatives. But I just, for me, the conversation ends with if you're going to a place where you're being told by the government there is an imminent threat. That's where the conversation ends, isn't it? I mean, there is no more conversation. Why would you as a business put your employees in harm's way? They clearly feel they're not, but that's a hard argument for them to have to try and argue. That's gonna be very difficult for them to explain how they're not endangering their employees. The only counter argument might be that technically wrestlers aren't classed as employees; they're classed as is it external contractors, and then we can all get into the legality of it all. And don't like it. I just don't like it. The extra security in Saudi are the wrestlers, says Hawkins Jr. Adam said, Triple H said, Logan Paul won't be alone this Saturday. The undefeated boxer Jake Paul, Logan's brother, might be in his corner, whilst Roman will have Heyman, the Usos, solo in his corner. I haven't heard exactly what Triple H said on that. What I heard is that Triple H hinted that Logan might not be alone, but I haven't seen or heard exactly the wording that has been used. Now, we did a prediction video where I said I think there's a good chance that you do get KSI or Jake Paul. I think there's a good chance. I don't think it's 100%. But I think there's a good chance. And the reason why I say that is because this is massive for Logan. This isn't just another match. I mean, in all fairness, having a WrestleMania match is massive. Having a one-on-one match in SummerSlam is massive. But having a headline match, like competing for the championship, going up against the best in the business right now, maybe not in ring, but I mean, I think there's an argument to be had there. But certainly star power, like the biggest in the business for me, no shadow of a doubt, Roman Reigns. Like this is the pinnacle. This is basically like going up against Hogan during Hulkamania. It's like facing Cena in the kind of late 2000s. It's like going up against Stone Cold. I mean, maybe not quite that level because wrestling's seemingly not as hot as it was during the Attitude Era. But you get my point. Like, this is as big as it gets. The only way this can be bigger is if it's at WrestleMania. That's the only way this could be bigger, is if we did it at WrestleMania or maybe SummerSlam. But it's roughly as big as it gets. So this is it. I mean, it won't get bigger than this unless he faces him again at WrestleMania. So you probably are going to want to pull every lever that you can. You're going to want to pull every trick out of the box, aren't you? You're going to want to do anything and everything you can to make this. This is Logan going for the title, basically. This is his maybe only ever shot at the championship. So you're going to want to make it as big as possible. I mean, honestly, Jake, KSI getting involved, them being ringside. You would imagine that Jake in particular might want to be there because I think going to Saudi Arabia is different. Obviously, put in what we just spoke about to one side. right? Let's imagine that's not happening. Let's imagine that threat isn't there. Let's imagine it's a normal Saudi show. Then I would imagine going to Saudi Arabia would be quite intriguing. It's not a country that I think many people from the Western world tend to travel to that much. So Jake might be intrigued as to what going to Saudi is like and what the Saudi culture is like and, you know, seeing the world. He's just had a fight last weekend, so he's not preparing for a fight right now. He'll be in downtime right now. He'll be recovering right now. So he's free, basically. Even if he's got another fight coming up, he's not in a training camp for it yet. So he's totally free. I understand he'll have other things that are going on, podcasts and whatever, but, you know, you can find ways around that. And more than that, I think he would want to be there for Logan. Logan was there at ringside for Jake's big moment, and it's undeniable this is a big moment for Logan. So yeah, I think there's a great chance. And if Jake's there, you're using him, aren't you? You're using him. I would argue Jake's a bigger star than Logan. So if Jake's there, then you know you're gonna have him knock out Austin Theory. How about you do this? Like Theory comes down, you do what Tyson Fury did. You know, Theory's gonna cash in during the match. The match is about to end. Logan's doing well, and you know Jake knocks him out, helps his brother. But his brother, I don't think is going to go on to win. I think there'll be you know, a Solo, an Uso. There'll be someone that will get in the way. But I think it's going to be harder for Roman, certainly than what Roman is thinking it's going to be. The story seems to be that Logan won't hit that lucky punch, and we've been told that Logan has got metal pins in his hands. So we've been told all of this, and I think we've been told this because when he hits Roman, you're going to know, oh my God, he just got that lucky punch. And I've been told he's got metal pins in his hand. Roman might not be getting up from this. 1, 2, Roman gets his shoulder up. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to be looking at this weekend. It feels like that's where the story's going. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's controversial to say I think Roman's winning. I think he's like a -4,000, -6,000 favorite, heavy favorite this weekend. Adam said Triple H said that Crown Jewel is going ahead. WWE are back in America in 3 weeks for Survivor Series in Boston. Adam, shout out to you. Kieran said, I think Adam Cole will take on Chris Jericho tonight. Roman was at Raw with Heyman 2 nights ago due to Sammy, the Usos, and Solo were on tour in Germany and Scotland. Bloodline without Sammy will reunite with Roman this Saturday. James said, Man United are interested in Bayern's Choupo-Moting. So I don't know who that is. I've never heard of that person. Choupo-Moting. I've not seen that. That's news to me. James, hope you're well. United doing all right at the moment, aren't they? Doing all right. It feels like we need to get rid of Ronaldo, and maybe, you know, I think that's looking pretty good in January that he will go. And then we need to, I don't know what we're going to do with De Gea. De Gea's a mixed bag, and he is not great with his feet, but he's making some great saves. So it kind of feels like there's a chance that he is going to stay. I still think we need a right back, but Dalot has had a much better season this year. So middle of the park looks good. They might be tempted by De Jong. I know we still want, is it Gakpo? Still interested in him, and striker seemingly is where our attention's going to be. So that's interesting. I've not heard of that person. He's a great goal scorer. Well, he can't be that great. I've never heard of him. So has he burst onto the scene this year, has he? I've never heard of him. That's unusual. I always look out for Man United news. I am a fan. Moldy said, what about if they cancel the Saudi deal they do next 5 years at the Tokyo Dome? Well, they need that money, don't they? That money is, it's worth a lot of money to them. I can understand why they don't want to cancel the Saudi deal. I can understand why they want that money. The point just keeps coming back to, is it a problem if it's not this weekend? I just don't understand. If you was to turn around to the royal family in Saudi Arabia, the crown prince, and say, look, because of the imminent threat, we need to move it. Can we agree a new date and we will come back? for this new date, and we will give you a show like for this new agreed date, because this just doesn't feel like the right time for us to be bringing over 100 people or more, to actually be putting this show on. What with you putting a statement out saying there's an imminent threat from Iran. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I just think they could rearrange it. The thing with the Tokyo Dome is I'm sure they could book the Tokyo Dome, but they wouldn't be getting any money for it, would they? It's not like Tokyo or Japan are going to be paying them to go over there, like with the money they're getting from the Saudis. The Saudis pay them a lot. So that's the problem. Like you could do it in the UK. You could go to Canada. There's plenty of places you could put a show on. But the difference with Saudi Arabia is that they get paid to go there. So finding somewhere that would pay them to put the show on is seemingly a very difficult thing to find. I'd imagine they're constantly looking for people to pay them to put shows on. I'm sure they would listen to any conversation along those lines. Brandon, shout out to you. Hope you are well. Man United also want Dixon Cider. God, that sounds like an old name. Going down the wing now, Dixon Cider. Dixon Cider whips it in. Oh, it's headed in by Willie McWillison. Big Time Baxter said, how much has it to do with WWE already having to postpone several Saudi shows during the pandemic, and WWE feels we don't want any more extensions? That could be a factor. The only thing I can tell you is that for me, and I think for many, I don't feel like anything I'm saying here is that controversial, right? I don't think this is like shock jock hour, right? I think what we're saying is pretty much the unanimous opinion on this. For me, if I'm going and I'm a business owner and I'm going to take 100, 200 people, maybe more, over to a place where there is an imminent danger, there is an imminent threat, I am going to look at that and go and feel a sense of responsibility and think to myself, oh, I probably shouldn't go there now, Probably shouldn't take these 200, 300, 400, 500 people, however many people, over to this place where there's an imminent danger. So for me, that's where the conversation ends. That's where the conversation ends. There's no justification really after that point. The only justification that I can think of is if they are talking to the Saudi government and the Saudi government are saying, no. It's been blown out of proportion. Like that's not exactly what we said. That's not exactly what's happening. And it turns out the story has been, magnified and blown out of proportion. I don't see how, to be honest, because this has come directly from the government. But that's the only kind of way that I could see them feeling comfortable with it, is if they were to speak to them and then say, no, that's not what's happening. It's all been blown up and it's all been blown out of proportion. Like, so they are, I'm sure, analyzing everything at the moment. I'm sure they've looked at alternatives. I'm sure they're getting information direct from Saudi. I'm sure they've got a go-between. I'm sure they've got good lines of communication. So, we'll see what the decision is. And I fully expect the show to go ahead. Who is the name that came to WWE from another company that wasn't used right? My first thought was Taz. Diamond Dallas Page was pretty awful. Do you remember when he came in and they used him as like the stalker? That was pretty awful. I don't think Diamond Dallas Page really worked at all in WWE. So I would say that Taz, I think, is a great shout as well. So Taz, Diamond Dallas Page comes to mind. I'll tell you the one that first came to mind, but I'm a bit conflicted on it, which is why I didn't say it, and that would be Sting. Because, like, for me, how they brought him in is just one of the best debuts ever. I mean, honestly, if I was to sit here and talk about my, say, 20 favorite matches in WWE history, I've no doubt that Survivor Series 2014 would be in there, because Survivor Series 2014 is when Sting comes in for the first time. And that is just such an amazing moment where Dolph is having to try and battle on his own against the Authority. Triple H is getting involved on the outside of the ring. He's proper screwing people over. And then Sting comes down, evens up the odds, and it's just amazing. So that bit is amazing. But it builds towards WrestleMania, and we end up getting Sting losing to Triple H. And we end up getting like NWO getting involved, which didn't make any sense. And we had Sting come into WWE, which is a story big enough in its own right. You don't need to mess around with that story. Sting come into WWE. That is it. Done. Thanks a lot. Right? Tick, 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 tick. Done. We don't need this as an excuse to do DX versus NWO. If you want to do DX versus NWO, then tell a different story, right? We don't need DX versus NWO to be a part of this story. So for me, the fact Sting lost at WrestleMania, the fact that he had to share that moment with a NWO DX story, which wasn't needed and didn't make sense, that to me is a big mishandling of him. And then after that, I think his next kind of story was the one with Seth, where the build was all right. I mean, it was pretty good, but then of course he gets injured, and that's it. Thanks a lot for coming. So that was it for Sting. So I think we got good, bad, and ugly with Sting. I think we got some real. We didn't get out of him what we should have. And what's a bit frustrating is the fact that he has been able to wrestle, on and off in AEW. So AEW have found a way of taking Sting and getting matches out of him. And I mean, we've done a cinematic match in a warehouse. Do you remember that? It's pretty good. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks against Sting and Darby Allin in some warehouse. I remember that being a lot of fun. So we've done that. We've done like proper tag matches in the ring. And I just don't understand how WWE have not been able to do anything with Sting since his injury in 2015. That was 7 years ago, and all throughout that time, like we've not been able to do anything. I think the truth is that Vince, I just don't think Vince really ever saw Sting as being someone that he wanted to promote or push. Or I think he wanted him during the 90s. I think he wanted him in the 90s because Sting was at his peak. I think then in the 2000s, we had the Attitude Era. We went into Ruthless Aggression. I don't think really there's a place for Sting at that time. And plus, I think at that time he's in TNA. And then once we get into the 2010s, they're able to work a deal out. It's a nice little moment. But I think they decide that, well, yeah, Sting, we'll bring him in. It'll be a good excuse to do NWO DX. And so, do you know what I mean? Like, even then, Vince looked at it and went, well, I suppose I can use him for this. I can use him to promote this story. And so he ends up getting his WrestleMania match, ends up losing, and ends up getting not overshadowed, but having to share that limelight, that spotlight with a storyline that just shouldn't have been there. So I must admit, out of all of them, even though there were some really great moments, that's the one that oh God, if I could change any one result, I think it would be that. Or I would change, and this is crazy because you might see it as a bit of a waste, I would change Jerry Lawler losing to Michael Cole, because Jerry Lawler he doesn't get the props he deserves in WWE. You're talking about one of the biggest wrestling stars of all time, Jerry the King Lawler. What he did in the territory is, he ran his own territory. He was the Roman Reigns of Memphis. He was the Hulk Hogan. He was the Stone Cold of Memphis. They always say Memphis had two kings. They had Elvis Presley and Jerry the King Lawler. And so Jerry came, his massive star, came over to WWE, and then finally gets a match at WrestleMania. And it's against Michael. And then, he wins, but he holds onto I can't remember what it was, Boston Crab or something. Can't remember what it was. Some leg lock, I think, now I'm thinking about it. Sharpshooter, maybe. But he held onto it for too long and basically got disqualified, and they said the thing had been reversed. So he's one and only WrestleMania match. This legend has lost to Michael Cole, which just really sucks. So that bothers me, and the Sting one bothers me as well. So, but I can't say, just going back to the original question, I can't say that Jerry's been mistreated. He's had a very good career in WWE. Mitchell said, I was wondering if you agree AEW is struggling because their really one main story is MJF. Maybe the Jericho versus Ring of Honor is something, but I feel like AEW has only got one story. Yeah, Mitchell, shout out to you, bud. Hope you are well. I don't disagree. I think that they've got one main story. I think they've got acts that are over. I think they've got little feuds that are going on. I mean, you've got Jade Cargill, who is defending her title week after week after week, and she's, had so many title defenses now, and she's like past the 50-0 mark, though. So I can't say there's only one story. There are other stories. The FTR, for example, they're trying to get to the AEW championship, aren't they? They want the AEW tag title. So they're in pursuit of that. That's a story that's going on. We've got the story with Jade Cargill. So there are, just off the top of my head, a few stories going on. Daniel Bryan, Wheeler Yuta seem to be butting heads at the moment. So there seems to be some friction there. That feels like that's a story that's coming through. But you're not wrong in saying there's only one main story. There's only one story that I think people really care about. Now, if you're a hardcore AEW fan, I would imagine you care about it all. I would imagine you're like, yeah, I'm loving all of this. Give me more, right? And that's great. But if you're a casual fan, and I class myself as a casual AEW fan, I'm someone that watches Dynamite every week, and there's things on Dynamite I enjoy, and there's things on Dynamite that I'm not as keen on, right? There's stuff on Dynamite that I don't care about. But for me, I agree. Like, looking at tonight's show, I've actually got it here. I must admit, there's not much here that I care about. There's not much here that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that. We've got Moxley against Lee Moriarty. Why? I mean, I'm sure this has been set up on Rampage. I'm sure there is a story to this. But as I said, as someone that classes themselves as a casual fan, and casual fans are important, yeah, not everyone that watches SmackDown can be a hardcore WWE fan. Not everyone that watches Raw is a hardcore WWE fan, just like not everyone that watches Dynamite is a hardcore AEW fan that's going to consume absolutely everything. As a casual AEW fan, I'm quite happy to class myself as that. I look at Moxley versus Lee Moriarty, and I have no idea why that's happening tonight. I have no idea why Moriarty is in this position. There's been no builds for this whatsoever. I've got no excitement for seeing Lee Moriarty, and I have no idea why we're doing that. So that's a match that's happening. Then we've got Samoa Joe against Brian Cage. That'll be all right. Brian Cage is credible. Samoa Joe's credible. That'll be all right. Probably the thing I'm most excited for is Jericho against the former Ring of Honor champion. So I would say that's because I like the mystery of who's going to come out. Like, we had a look at the former champs before. I really like that. I like this story. So I'll give him a tick there. Jade Cargill against Marina Shafir. I'm quite intrigued in this. There's been a lot of talk about Marina Shafir recently. You don't know me, but I have no idea why it's happening. It goes back to the Moxley Moriarty points. Like, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know how Marina Shafir has managed to get herself into this position. I can only imagine she's just been picking up wins on Dark, Elevation. But I sort of feel like if you do well on Dark Elevation, that should then bring you to Dynamite to start a story. And it just doesn't feel like this is the start. Like, she's pretty much just going straight into a match here with Jade Cargill. I understand that Nyla Rose stole the belt and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like, this to me is cold. It's cold. Then we got Saraya versus Britt Baker. This has been a little bit off. We seem to have not really established what the problems are between these two. Maybe we'll do that tonight. I mean, Saraya is definitely someone that manages to pique interest. I'm interested to see where this is going. But I think we can agree the build for this has not been brilliant. So we'll see how it goes. I'll give it a tick. I'll give that a tick, yeah? I'll give Jade Cargill, Marina a tick as well, because I am interested to see if they can have a decent match. So actually, maybe not for the reasons they're expecting. I'm interested to see how that match goes. So I'll give them 3 ticks there. OC versus Luchasaurus versus Phoenix. I do remember the backstage segment on this. It was very thrown together. They all 3 were backstage. Few exchange of words. Boom, match made next week. So can't say I'm crazy about that. OC, Luchasaurus, Phoenix. There's no history there. It was a backstage segment that got out of control. So no. Darby Allin against Jay Lethal. I kind of like Darby, actually. Darby's doing some all right stuff now. That he did a little promo last week, and he was talking about how he's kind of breaking away from Sting now, and it feels like we might be starting to do something with Darby. So I'm down for seeing what we're doing with Darby. I'm down for seeing where we're going to go. I'll give that a tick. And then Daddy Ass Birthday Bash. Definitely down for that. Love the Acclaimed. So let's have a look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 things that have been announced. 5 I'm actually interested in. So actually, after saying I'm not that bothered, looking at the card tonight and actually going through it one by one, there is some stuff there that I am actually interested in. Granted, Jade Cargill, Marina Shafir, I'm only really interested in because that is potentially a car crash, and I want to see if it's going to be a car crash. So maybe my interest in that is not what they would want it to be. Jericho, former Ring of Honor champion. Saraya Britt Baker, I don't think has been built very well. I want to see if we get somewhere tonight, so that's why I'm interested in it. But I think credit for that is quite limited for AEW. Darby Allin, I really liked the vignette last week. I thought they did a great job with Darby Allin's vignette, so good. And then, listen, if there's one thing they've done well, it's the Acclaimed. They've built the Acclaimed up so well. So, yeah, I agree. I think there's only one major story in AEW that's really grabbing attention. Running Wilds, fixed. There we go. Lag is fixed. So, a little bit of lag. But hopefully that is now resolved. We have got 20 minutes to go. So, Mitchell, shout out to you, buds. Appreciate it. Shane STS, shout out to you. Little Alien Boy said, what's your prediction for what we see at Survivor Series? I'm going to go, and I'm so excited. I'm also going to AEW in Boston in a week. Great time to be a wrestling fan in Boston. Yeah, I was talking to... I've got a friend who lives in Boston. I do a podcast with him, and he was talking about, there's loads of Raws and SmackDowns, AEW, Survivor Series, Blitzkrieg, Beyond. There's, loads of stuff happening in the Boston area. Rhode Island, New York, Boston, New Jersey, all of that kind of area has got a lot going on at the moment. So what are my thoughts on Survivor Series? It's got to be Bloodline. Can't see any way the Bloodline aren't involved. So got to think the Bloodline are going to be playing a part. Bray Wyatt is being positioned as the top babyface on the SmackDown roster. That may mean that we do get a Wyatt family versus Bloodline story. So that's a potential. I feel that we should get somewhere by the time we get to Survivor Series. There is a chance that they might not want to go straight into that feud. And so we could end up with getting Brawling Brutes, maybe, against... Because I don't think it's going to be Raw SmackDown. I think they've already said Raw versus SmackDown is not the focus. It's not like the War Games are going to be Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. I am expecting it to be more storyline driven, which is going to be so much better. So much more entertaining. So I could see maybe Brawling Brutes against Bloodline. I mean, we are already seeing Usos against Brawling Brutes at Crown Jewel. There is every chance that now continues to build towards Survivor Series. And I think Sheamus going up against Roman is quite interesting because I feel like we've seen it before, but when we've seen it before, Roman was the face and Sheamus was the heel Now it's been completely flipped on its head. And apparently Brawling Brutes are listed as baby faces. So I think we might stand a chance of it being Brawling Brutes taking on the Bloodline. They would need an extra person to join them. That could be interesting. Don't know who that would be, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that could fill that role. So, interesting. Very, very interesting. I really like the idea of that. When it comes to the women, I've got to think Damage Control. It definitely feels like it's going to be Alexa, Asuka, Bianca, Candice taking on Bayley, potentially Nikki Cross, Bianca, Dakota, and Io. So Damage Control with Nikki Cross taking on those four faces. I could definitely see something along those lines. I think you get Bray, you get something Bray related. I feel like it'll be a match of some description, probably a tag match, or a big, Survivor Series match. Who they'll go up against, I'm not sure, but Bloodline is definitely an option. Maybe Imperium, maybe. Again, he is being listed as face, biggest baby face internally, so I think he'll be playing face. So, those are just a few early thoughts. And I'm sure Judgment Day will have something as well. I think Edge will be back by that point. Judgment Day against OC seems to be a bit of a no-brainer. It's actually not that far away. I know, we're talking about a lot of things that are happening now, but actually Survivor Series is in, 3 weeks? Something along those lines. It's not that far at all. So it's not as if we haven't even really got time to be starting anything new. So that's why I could see the Usos Brawling Brutes. I could see that kind of growing. Hey, maybe Logan joins the Brawling Brutes. Maybe you get Logan, Sheamus, Ridge, and Butch taking on the Bloodline. Maybe you get something along those lines. So food for thought there, my friend. So shout out to you, buds. Shout out to Little Alien Boy. Hope you're well. Shane STS79 said, glad to be back in the membership. You are a daily part of my day. I appreciate your insight. Keep doing your thing. That's really kind, dudes. I really appreciate that. It's great. It's great that we can do this and just chat away and just cover all the big wrestling stories for the day. Obviously, we tend to do this hour before the shows on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday. There will be a video of some description on the channel tomorrow. And then, of course, on a Friday, we do SmackDown. But what's great is we've always done this hour before where we can go through all the wrestling news and hit all the big stories and everything. And I think we've pretty much done that. We do have Dana Brooke wants to bring in a women's mid-card title. She wants to change the 24/7 to a women's mid-card title. I'd be interested to see if they would agree to do that. I think they could agree to do that, but I wouldn't be optimistic that they would book it very well. Just because I think we've been talking a lot about women's segments in wrestling and how those women's segments maybe aren't bringing in the ratings that, we would like to see. So it's a vicious circle, really. If something's not bringing the ratings, it makes it hard to invest in it. But if you don't invest in it, it's not going to bring in the ratings. And then if it doesn't bring in the ratings, you don't invest in it. And that circle has got to be broken at some point. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere. So Dana wants to introduce a women's mid-card title. I think that could be a good idea if you properly get behind it and book it really well and have some really engaging feuds. I cannot see why the ratings would not, grow and why the segments wouldn't perform. I don't feel like people are against. I don't see people saying that they hate women wrestling. I don't see these conversations. I love it. I absolutely love it. I've always loved it. I thank Alundra Blaze for that because when I started watching wrestling, there was a very, very, very credible female champion who was cool. She was cool, and she was someone that, she was never presented as a joke. And so I think from my earliest age, I have seen females that have been presented really well. I think Sensational Sherry, was always presented really well. Sensational Sherry always looked amazing, carried herself with like dignity. Of course, she was a heel, so she would always end up getting embarrassed somehow, normally like a dress getting ripped or something like this. But that was like, because she was a heel and she'd been doing heelish things and she deserved it. It's not like I grew up at a time where it was like bra and panty matches and all this kind of stuff. And do you know what I mean? The women didn't know how to wrestle. Like Sensational Sherry was a women's champion and was a great wrestler. Alondra Blaze trained over in Japan. She was a great wrestler. I saw Alondra. I grew up watching Sensational Sherry and Alondra Blaze and Bull Nakano. Like it gave me such this early appreciation for women's wrestling, and so it's great to see where it's come, but it is a bit of a shame that there seems to be this constant conversation about how the ratings are not where they would like the ratings to be. So I say try it. I've not got any confidence that they would do it right, or that they would back it, or they would commit to it. I think it could be like the women's tag belts where they bring them in and then they're just there and they're just not that great and they're not really used very well. I could totally see that, but try it. Let's see if we can get something out of it. So, Shane STS79, shout out to you, dude. You reminded me of that. That was the only thing we hadn't touched on. Avenged said Brian Alvarez has said something big is going to go down on AEW tonight. Do you think it's the Elite or something from left field? I think it's the Elite personally. I think they were teased last week. I don't think they're going to build up. They need the Elite back as soon as possible, right? Everything in AEW is yeah. I mean, you've only got to hear Excalibur reading through the matches that are coming up the next week to get a vibe of the pace of the show. It's get it out there now. This is happening. That's happening. Oh my God. Now we've got a brawl. Now we're going backstage. It's like a million miles an hour. I don't think there's going to be this long, lengthy campaign where we bring the Elite back. I think it'll be quite quick. Whether it'll be this week or not, I don't know. I mean, that is very quick. One vignette and then boom, they're back the next week. That is very quick. So I do still have a little seed of doubt that even for AEW, it might be too quick to bring them back the very next week. But equally, I am aware that they have been without them for a while, and it's not been great for ratings, has it? I mean, ratings have been okay, but they have not set the world on fire. And they could, if they're ready to go, they could do with bringing them back and start telling some stories and using them. So I my guess would be the Elites, but if it is something left field, then obviously that's harder to predict because there's no rumors of anything left field happening other than what Brian Alvarez has been told. So, I mean, look, we're here for it, whatever it is, but I am going into it with expectations of it being Elite related. Then shout out to you, Shane STS79. Said, have we met Uncle Harper yet? Rather than the supernatural role, I like the idea of multiple personalities. It's fun. Yeah, so I've said I'm still operating under the belief that Uncle Harper is Bray. I must admit, I haven't felt that way from the start. When we very first saw him, when the camera panned down and he went, "Howdy," I didn't think it was Bray then. I actually didn't think it was Bray. I thought it was someone different. So I didn't think it was Bray at that point. But when we saw him face on and we saw like the proper full face reveal, my initial gut reaction when I heard the voice, saw the shape of the face, or any little clue that you could see, my initial gut reaction is, it's Bray. That's Bray, right? Now, obviously, in the hours that have come afterwards, people have looked at the shoulders, they've looked at the earring, they've looked at the teeth. Some people have come up with the notion that it's Bo, and it could be Bo, but I've not seen anything that's changed my mind that it's Bray personally. I also think there's a lot of references to like split personalities. If for example, you've got Bray standing in the ring saying that he no longer wears a mask, then he gets interrupted by someone that sounds like him, right? Shape of the face looks like him, and he's calling him a liar, saying that you are wearing a mask, right? It doesn't take Columbo to put 2 and 2 together to work out, oh, is that because that's Bray behind that mask, right? So you can sort of see how the pieces would connect. And not only that, like some of the imagery, there's one image in particular that flashes up on screen where you've got one body, like there's I don't know if it's a child or whatever, but one body, and they've got 2 heads. So 2 heads, 2 different personalities, 2 different people within one body. Like that imagery is part of the Uncle Howdy kind of presentation, if you will. So there's these little, and again, you know, man who sold the world is David Bowie, and you know we're hearing about how Ziggy Stardust passed David Bowie on the stairs, and they got a glimpse of each other. It's the same person, but it's this split personality. Go back the other week, you got the psychological evaluation form for Bray as well. So again, you know, we know there's some mental health concerns. We don't know, obviously, how drastic it is. There's a lot of stuff that's being chucked at us that's screaming split personality, and a lot of things that are being thrown at us that suggest that Uncle Howdy is Bray. The only thing I would say is it so obvious that it turns out to be a swerve? Is it so, like, you know, psychological evaluation, imagery of 2 heads, 1 body, Bray saying he's not wearing a mask, and then someone that sounds like Bray appears wearing a mask, calling him a liar? Like, you know, is it so obvious that they're trying to present that it actually then a swerve, and the swerve is that behind the mask is Bo? Like, I can't answer that. And we were saying, you know, there's every chance that this is all going to be a swerve, and it turns out to be Baron Corbin, or it turns out to be Charlotte, or it turns out to be a heel that has got you excited thinking that it's this person, but then they come back instead. And, you know, of course, they get nuclear heat. Could you imagine if White Rabbit had turned out to be Baron Corbin? Could you imagine the nuclear heat that he would have got if everyone thought that Bray was coming back? Because WWE had put some other stuff in there as well. They'd put in like Aleister Black's lyrics. There was the hourglass, which seemingly was a reference to Karrion Kross. So there'd been other little references to other wrestlers. But yeah, could you imagine the heat that that would have got? By the time we got to the end of White Rabbit, I was making the point, though, that there's too much now. There was too much Bray stuff. I was like, if they are going to swerve us, I think they've gone too far down the Bray road. It's all right to tease the odd thing amongst, you know, that person, Aleister Black, that person, Karrion Kross, that person, Finn Balor. It's all right to have something Bray in there. But there was so much Bray stuff that by the end, it did turn into just waiting for him to return, really. I wonder if that's what we're doing here. I wonder if, like, it's super obvious they're trying to tease this split personality. I don't know if it's going to then go off and become Bo, or if it is going to be obvious again. Don't forget, White Rabbit in the end was obvious. In the end, it was obvious, right? It was so Bray that he went, it's just got to be. It's got to be, otherwise he can sue them, because they've used so much of his stuff. There was just so much. There was so much. So looking at White Rabbit and looking at how that became so obvious and how it then turned out to be the obvious thing, I've got to think the same people are working on this now. There's a lot saying that this is Bray behind that mask, and is it going to be super, super obvious? And then it turns out to be that. It's going to be really interesting to find out. So yeah, I am leaning with Bray. I'm still leaning with Bray. The earring I found quite mystifying, actually, because it is true that Bo wore an earring like that, but that is zero indication that means it's Bo behind the mask. The amount of time I still get sent it, that meme of like the earring on Uncle Howdy and the earring on Bo, and it could be a coincidence, it could be a reference, Like, it could be Bray, like, just paying a little homage to Bo. Much like how we think the mask looks a lot like Barry Windham, and how people think the teardrop coming down the mask's face might be a little nod to Liv Morgan. You know, this could be a little reference. That mask could be, actually, if we proper dig into it, could have a few references to lots of different elements of his family. You know, and I can't say Liv is his family. I don't actually know her relationship with Bo, but she does live on a farm with him. So, you know, she's a very close personal friend at the very least. And she may even be in a relationship with Bo. I genuinely don't know. Nor do I care, to be honest. But, you know, it could just be a reference easily. Could be a coincidence. Could just be that he wanted that because he thought it would look good being on the Uncle Howdy mask. Or it could be that is an indication that it is Bo behind the mask. So it's really hard. It's really hard to like decode as to who it is at this stage. They've done a really good job with it. They've done a really good job. It still feels to me like that voice is Bray. You listen to the voice and it just sounds like Bray's voice to me. People do say, though, that Bo does a very good impression of Bray. And I did watch the impression and, yeah, it was good. I still think it's Bray, though. But if it turns out to be Bo, as I've said, it's not a hill that I'm willing to die on. I'm not willing to sit here and have a big heated argument with anyone as to who's behind that mask, because the truth is, I don't know, is the truth. But I can only go with what my gut feeling is and the direction I'm expecting it to go. And that would be that I think it is going to be Bray. So, yeah, good point, Shane. I agree. I think that it could be a number of people behind there, but I think it will be Bray. Frank said Raw was great, but NXT was weak. OZR said WWE have announced that a series focused on Bianca and Montez is going to come to Hulu. What's your thoughts about this? Love it. Love it. I think that they are a power couple that have not been fully utilized at all. In fact, not been utilized at all. I think if you look at Miz and Mrs., and if you look at the interest that was in Total Divas and the Bellas, you know, you've got a black couple there with Bianca and Montez. And, you know, it's heartbreaking, really, to think that I think Bianca now is the longest reigning black champion WWE has ever had. I mean, underrepresented in the history of WWE, undeniably, right? I don't know. It's hard to say if WWE were at fault or if like just the wrestling world in general was at fault. But for whatever reason, like black superstars were not getting their, you know, chances, were not finding their way into the WWE. I don't know where the problem was. I don't know if it was training schools not wanting to train like black people. I don't know if it was the indie scene or the territories not wanting to give black people opportunities that the white people were getting. I don't know if it was WWE who just only wanted to bring in a certain number of black people. I don't know what it was. I don't know, maybe if black people just weren't as bothered about like pro wrestling, but they have been underrepresented in the history of wrestling. And I think that extends to like these opportunities. Do you know what I mean? Like when you look at Miz and Mrs. and Total Bellas and you think about some of the power couples, you know, you think about the power couples in wrestling, you think about Elizabeth and Macho, you think about Nikki and John, you think about Becky and Seth, right? These are the names that come to mind. Like, you've got Bianca and Montez, two incredible athletes, right? Incredible athletes who are at the top of their game, Bianca in particular. Montez maybe not so much, but Bianca in particular absolutely is. And yes, I think this is brilliant. I think this is a show that should be made. It's the next natural step, really, and long overdue. I'd watch it. I'd be down for watching it. I really would be quite interested to see what their relationship is like. They're very lovey-dovey, those two, aren't they? Here's Darby. Sus48K said, Days, Ronaldo or Messi, let's see your ball knowledge. Here's Darby Allin making his way down. So my answer to that is normally Ronaldo, but I am also very honest in saying that that's probably because I've seen a hell of a lot more of him because I am a Man United fan. So I saw the impact he had when we brought him in from Sporting Lisbon. So, and then of course I've been able to follow his career as we sold him to Real Madrid and then see what he went on to achieve at Real Madrid. Obviously, since he came back, it's kind of hurt things a little bit, but I still think, an absolutely incredible footballer. Incredible. Broken so many records. The counter argument, though, is that Messi has won more Ballon d'Ors. And I think my honest answer would be I think Messi might actually be the true answer. I think Messi might be the true answer, but it doesn't stop Ronaldo from being my pick. Because they're very, very close. But if you want to look at numbers and use the Ballon d'Ors in particular, then you go with Ronaldo. You go with Messi. Vince never wanted a black champion as the face of the company, says AR1. I genuinely don't know if that's true or not. I genuinely don't know if that's true or not. Against the ropes goes Darby, but we are underway, by the way. We got Darby taking on Jay Lethal. We got Satnam Singh making his way down. There's a sign in the crowd, but I can't see what it says. Big shot there by Jay Lethal. This is one of the 5 I was interested in. Darby lands. Oh, no. No. So Jay Lethal flipped Darby over. He actually landed on his feet. I was really impressed that he'd landed on his feet. And then seemingly he decided to run into the steps on his own accord. I don't know why he did that. He got flipped over. He landed on his feet. And then there was a brief moment where he paused. And then he seemingly just ran himself into the steps. He's got Darby under the steps. I'll have to have a look at a replay of that because in real time, it looked a bit silly, to be honest. Just as I was about to praise him for sticking the landing and actually flipping over and landing on his feet, I was like, oh, that's good. He then just ran into the ring steps. Mike Tyson is on Rampage on Friday, says James. Still not going to be enough to get me to watch it, I'm afraid. Darby on the outside with Jay. Jay's going to look to charge over at Darby. Darby getting some chance. Back elbow by Darby. Actually prefer Darby without Sting, I think that it overshadows him. I think with Sting on the outside, it does overshadow him. Kojiko. Here's Kojiko. Picture in picture. Kojiko says Apple once had a clothing line. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that, Kojiko. Kojiko is here. Kojiko, full of facts, information that you can trust by Kojiko. Not that I was checking on you, but Apple did launch a clothing line called the Apple Collection in 1986. Technology giant Apple launched its clothing line, which was later discontinued. Sweatshirts, shirts, t-shirts, tracksuits, trucker hats, and accessories. So what was it called? It was called the Apple Collection. I just want to have a look, see what it looks like. The Apple Collection. Right, we're still at picture in picture, I believe. Darby back in the ring. Looks pretty 80s and retro, if that is what it is. Darby slam down. I don't know if we are still at commercial break, but I am just going to quickly show you. There you go. That apparently is what it's... that's what it looked like. Don't know if... Is there any more pictures? How's this? That's not very good, is it? That looks like one of the only images I can find for it. What's this? Darby down over by the ropes. Look at the jacket. Looks cool, though. That's a cool-looking jacket. Yeah, that jacket looks all right. Look at that. That's proper retro. Look like you're from space. Apple clock hats. There we go. There we go. So I got some problems with the stream. Little bit of lag tonight, and I don't know why. Little bit of lag doing the rounds. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me, but I said yes. We have touched on them. We have spoke about them. So feel free to rewind the stream if you want to go back through that. We are underway at the moment with Darby and Jay Lethal. An Apple clock. The jacket is cool. Apparently, Jake is slated to be at Crown Jewel per PW Insider. Good. I think it'll be a good thing for him to be there. Oh, Darby springboards off the ropes. Back elbow collides into Jay Lethal. Lethal over in the corner. Big boot. Darby is down. I don't know that this match is for anything. It'd be good if it was. Planted down. Darby gets planted face first. So Darby is still down, and Jay Lethal stepping to the outside. It's going to go up. Darby holding onto his ribs. Satnam applauding. Jay Lethal up top. Looking for the elbow drop. Wasn't a very good elbow. Wasn't a very good elbow. Got reversed into a crucifix pin. Now a pin by Darby. Bridging out by Jay Lethal. Lethal against the ropes. Darby grabs him. It's nice. Got sleeper hold applied. Middle of the ring. Wrestler Dandy said, I know Jake B. Logan would have a real boxing match, but them in against each other, maybe a tag match would be a big draw. I know Jake versus Logan would have a real boxing match, but them against each other, maybe a tag match would be big money draw. Those two together in a tag match would definitely bring guys, yeah. Those two doing anything together is gonna bring attention. Lethal in the middle. Darby moves out the way. Jay Lethal goes into the corner. Darby. Oh! Is that Stun Dog Millionaire? Jay Lethal is down. We're 10 minutes into this. Been pretty good. Been a few little moments in there that I don't know have gone to plan, but either way, Jay Lethal rolls out of the ring. Great seeing Darby Allin back. It's been ages, says James. Enigma said, please, God, no, don't have that Melter Jake anywhere near a WWE ring. Keaton said, people are saying Cody will win the Rumble, but if it's true that Roman will keep both belts, how will we get Roman Rock? I don't know that Roman is going to keep both belts, to be honest. I think Cody does win the Rumble. I don't know that Roman will have both belts. There's been a lot of rumors in recent months that USA Network want a championship back on their show, which you can understand. So I've already been surprised at the fact we've not done it. So I'm still under the impression that by the time we get to WrestleMania, Roman will only still have the Universal and he will have dropped the WWE. Someone has just thrown Darby into the ring. It's clearly not Sting. It's not Sting. Lethal injection. Someone in a Sting mask has just chucked Jay Lethal into the ring. So Jay Lethal has won. Why do the commentators have to act so stupid? Why is it that we can see the pictures that it's clearly someone in a mask and their body shape is clearly not Sting? Yeah, thanks. Tony Schiavone is an idiot. Taz is like, Sting paints his face. He doesn't wear a mask. Who's under that mask? I literally took his mask off and I think the whole world just went, who? It's Cole Carter. Cole Carter from the factory. I think literally everyone in the crowd just went, who's that? It's Sting! Sting's making his way down. It's Sting! Cole Carter, Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal, they're all staring. Jay Lethal's looking up at the heavens. Sting is Jeff Jarrett. Is that Jeff Jarrett? Jeff Jarrett's got in the ring. That's not Sting. Jeff Jarrett is behind Darby. Cracks him with a guitar. Where's Jeff Jarrett? Jeff Jarrett's in the ring. Is this the big thing, Jeff Jarrett? Jeff Jarrett's in the ring then. You just got a lesson from the last outlaw. Oh, it's Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy's in the ring. Double J looks amazing. He does look amazing. I like this last outlaw gimmick thing. He says Sting has become Darby's biggest weakness. Is it? I don't understand. Is this the big reveal? Yeah, Schiavone is a clown in all fairness. Don't tell me this was Tony Khan's big surprise. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I mean, it's cool. It is cool. So he calls the AEW fan base delusional. My family got into the business in 1946. Wherever the Jarretts went, we left an impact. Very true. You still suck, I think the chant is. You still suck. You still suck. Double J is here to avenge his loss to the Nature Boy. Woo! Is Nature Boy coming out now? AEW fans, you can choke on that, slap nuts. I don't mind Jeff Jarrett being in. I don't mind him being in at all. Declaring war on AEW. Slapnuts is back. Double J is 97 years old. Guys, why do they keep bringing in these ex-WWE guys? Oh my God. It's always ex-WWE. Samoa Joe, Brian Cage, that's coming up tonight. Lee Moriarty and Jon Moxley coming up next. Oh, just seeing last week with Jon Moxley versus Lee Moriarty. J.E. double gives an F, said Esteban. TNA. Jason said, wasn't he working with WWE a few weeks ago? He used to do, wasn't he like head of house shows or something? Head of live. Yeah, he did. He was working behind the scenes. Everyone's ex-WWE. I'm ex-WWE, said Tall Paul. Here's Jonathan. Here's Jonathan Moxley. Forged in combat. He's got a Blackpool Combat Club top on. This is the biggest night of Lee Moriarty's life. AEW is in my city tonight, said AR1. James said everyone was expecting Elite and we got Jeff Jarrett. Well, it might. I don't know. We might get something else. Does this Double J stuff make any sense? He'll fit right in then, said Maggie. AEW now has the slapnut stink of TNA and WCW 2000, said Funky Fresh. Watching King of the Ring 2001 instead. The first use of OMG was in a 1917 letter to Winston Churchill, says Kojiko. Got to take it with a pinch of salt, haven't you, when Kojiko puts something out there like that? But I have actually heard that. I actually heard that I was under the impression Churchill was one of the first to use. I can't say he was the first, but I thought it was Churchill. But you're saying it's a letter to Churchill. I could believe that. Toxplicity said, did you hear Crown Jewel has officially moved? No, I have not heard that. If that is true, that is big news. But that is not news I've seen. I like what someone just said. Maybe it's setting up AEW versus Ring of Honor, said James. Tolik said they are bringing all the ex-WWE guys and girls because they know WWE is better. This really gives me WCW 2000 vibes, said Mitchell. Toys R Us last night was funny, said Ethan. Toys R Us was funny. Oh, I didn't know what was this? What's going on? I thought I just had a fault. This is interesting. Someone's doing some editing and we're seeing them edit. Editing, oh, look, we're getting the Elite being removed. It's good. It's a great editing job. Well, does that mean that we don't get the Elite later? We have had another of those. Oh, now we've just got a black screen. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we've had another one of the Elite being erased segments. Interesting. Elite White Rabbit, Elite edited out. That was kind of cool. It was kind of cool how I was watching, it's a little video package, and then we saw someone actually editing. I was like, whoa, have I pressed the button? Because I saw an editing screen. I was like, no, this is part of the show. And then you see them editing out the Elite. Is that where this story's going? Are we watching someone edit? Is it going to be revealed that that's CM Punk? And he's editing the Elite out? I mean, I don't think so. What if the Elite come back totally different, darker, moodier, more aggressive, none of that spraying stuff, no bright colors, just come back and they just you know what I mean? Angry. They want to edit. They are editing themselves out because that's not who they are anymore. Be interesting, couldn't it? Just say yes. Elite has been deleted. Oh, do you think it could be Matt? I don't know how I'd feel about that. It's Mustafa Ali as the hacker again. Matt Hardy, time to delete you. Tall Paul said the Elite are going to come back as zombies. Elite needs to come back as the new NWO. Elite are going to come back as the Wyatt Six. Maggie said, I've not long tuned in. My notification failed to notify. Goddamn YouTube. Well, in all fairness, you haven't missed much. Well, you've missed an hour of us just chatting away. But you've only missed 20 minutes of the show. We've had one match so far, and we had the return of Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Hawkins said, I figured it out. It's scripts. Ava said it sounds a bit trash. A janitor invented the flaming hot Cheetos, says Kojiko. Kojiko really pumping out the facts tonight. Feels like he's trying to make amends. That's what it feels like. Feels like he knows that last night was not a highlight in the story of Kojiko, and it feels like we're trying to move on and make amends. That's what it feels like to me. Right, here we go. We are going back to the show. If you are just joining us, we've had one match. In fairness, in 23 minutes, we've had quite a bit. We've had a match. We've had Jeff Jarrett. We've had the Elite being deleted. And now, here we go. We are going to Jon Moxley, who is coming out with William Regal. So, Jon Moxley making his way out. William Regal standing behind him. Shield have let themselves go. Here's Moxley going through the crowds. Scissor me, daddy ass. Shirt there. In fact, quite a few shirts. I love William Regal, said Sonny. Days Chilwell is out of the World Cup. He suffered a hamstring injury tonight for the Champions League. That is a shame. That is a loss. I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be, innit? If you're Southgate, I wouldn't worry about it. You just go with whoever you can go with. We've got some good depth. You know, yeah, it'd be good to have Chilwell, but Shaw's playing quite well at the moment. Trippier can do a job over there as well, so certainly not ideal, but it'll be all right. We'll be all right. Moxley making his way down. James said, I looked on Twitter. There's no news about Crown Jewel being moved. Dark Knight said, in the 1840s, a big, dare we say cheesy grin was seen as childish. So one London photographer told people to say prunes to keep their mouths taut. Prunes. Yeah, but then don't you end with looking a bit glum? Cheese. Cheese automatically raises your face, doesn't it? Cheese. Prunes. Prunes makes me go down. Prunes. Cheese. Prunes. Cheese. Prunes. I mean, I understand that's the effect they were going for, but I feel like saying the word prunes actually, I find it depressing. I never realized that till now. Prunes. Prunes makes me go down? Oh my God. Thank God I never eat them. I just don't need that negativity in my life. This is why people love cheese. They love cheese because even saying the word makes them happy. How many people right now just think are sat at home going, cheese, prunes, cheese, prunes? How many people are doing that right now? There's at least one. There's at least one. Ethan Page on commentary. Keaton said it could be Pac erasing the Elites because Pac was replaced by the Elite in that editing segment. Yeah, good shout. What's Pac's editing skills like, though? That's the biggest question. When did he learn these skills? I mean, in all fairness, I think he was trapped in the UK during lockdown, so maybe he did take a bit of a crash course in video editing. I don't know. Hit coming in there by Moxley. Moriarty throwing in a kick as well. Mitchell said, the only historical fact you need to know is that history is written by the winner. Toxplicity said, if the event gets moved to the Performance Center, do you think they will change any of the outcomes or surprises? Yes. Yes, I think it would be scaled down, to be honest. I think if you're going to do it, you don't get the live crowd reaction. You don't get that. So, no, I mean, like, having Jake Paul sat at ringside watching Logan on his own would look a bit weird. I mean, I understand you would have, you could invite some fans. I understand you could have a few people there, but it can only hold a couple of hundred, can't it? Can't get many in the Performance Center at all. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think if they did move it there, it would be downscaled. I don't know if they'd surely be able to find some venue. We wouldn't have to do the Performance Center, would we? There must be some venue somewhere. The only reason we were at the Performance Center is because everywhere was shut, but now everywhere's open. There must be some venue somewhere. But the only problem is, obviously, you got to sell the tickets, haven't you? What if? Do you know it'd be a really interesting experiment if you managed to get an arena somewhere in the country, you put everyone there, and you said tickets on the door. Tickets on the door, first come, first served. 15,000 tickets available. Tickets on the door. That'd be really. I'd be so interested to know if you took that approach. How many tickets would you sell? Tickets available at the venue. Turn up, get your ticket. 15,000. How many people would go for this unplanned event that was, well, not unplanned, but not meant to be at that venue? That'd be really interesting. It'd be really interesting. Obviously, it depends where it is, isn't it? If you're in Chicago, you probably stand a good chance. If you're in, I don't know, backwater place, then you're going to struggle. People would take tickets and scalp them, said Corvids. You can only have no more than 4. No more than 4. First come, first served. Big long queue. And that's it. I suppose people could put lots of people in the queue, but they're not going to do that, are they? If you're a ticket scalper, you're not going to take 50 people with you to join that queue. So how are you going to scalp tickets? No more than 4. First come, first served. There will be some scalping, undeniable, but I don't think you'd be able to do it on an industrial level. Mitchell said tickets at the door wouldn't work. One person would buy all the tickets. Not if there's a limit. Not if there's a limit. No more than 4. How many would you like? I'd like 10,000. Oh, I'm sorry. You can only have 4. 4,000. No. 4. 400? Nope. 4. What 4 would you like? They could show up in Central Park in New York City. If Crown Jewel gets moved, they could go to the Barclays Center because there's nothing there on November 5th. There we go. Imagine that. Barclays Center. First come, first served. No more than 4 tickets. I'd love to know what the attendance would be there. Shout out to you. Is it just me or does Lee Moriarty look more jacked? He looks good. Last time I saw him, he looked like he was the size of a twig. To be honest, I can't remember what he looked like last time I saw him. What he looks like now is he looks like he's got a decent physique. But I can't go back through my memory banks to remember what Moriarty looked like last time I saw him. Why people say they can do it in the USA, they've already gone to Saudi today, said James. If you're limiting things, you've got to police it. The entire experiment becomes pointless. If you're limiting things, you are having to police it. The experiment becomes pointless. Don't know what you mean. There's nothing really to police, is there? I mean, all you do is when someone comes to the window, they say, you can have 5. You go, no, you can only have 4. right? And then you give them 4 for whoever they want, and off they go, and that's it. And then the next person comes to the window, and you do the same thing. So with that system in place to try and counter ticket touts, could you manage to get through 10,000 plus tickets? I mean, I would feel you could. Certainly if you was doing it at Barclays with, all the kind of how much population there is around there. Because you're bringing in, Boston, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, obviously. All of those kind of areas, Manhattan, Bronx, Connecticut. It's a big catchment area, isn't it? But it'd be interesting. Be interesting to know. I mean, you would need 2,500 groups of 4. Could they attract 2,500 groups of 4? And in all fairness, I don't even know if that would make money or not. Even if they did get 10,000 people in the Barclays Center, would they end up losing money? I have no idea. There's some cheering in the crowd. I don't know why there was some cheering. Some people were just walking past. What's happening? Something's happening. Everyone's distracted by something that's in the crowds. What are they chanting? What are they chanting? About 3 people walked past, caused a big stir in the crowds. Lamar Jackson was in the crowds and he got an MVP chant. I don't know who that is. Guys, Lamar Jackson, one of the Jackson 5, just arrived in the crowds. There by Moxley. 1, 2. Kick out. Sounded like freshly squeezed. Lamar Jackson plays for the Baltimore Ravens, and it's why they're chanting. Their football players, says Blazed Radio. Thank you, my friends. I remember when they were in a group. Lamar Jackson is a football player from the Ravens. It's probably Enzo trying to get a job. Forearm strike there by Lee Moriarty. And again, Moxley screaming at Moriarty. Big shot coming back by Moxley. Moriarty, 1 wobbly feet. Strikes coming in here by Moxley. We are 35 minutes into the show. Big right hand. More little shots coming in. Big knee strike. Plants Moxley. Moxley right back up to his feet, though. Nice suplex there by Moxley. Side headlock takeover. Double wrist lock. Looking into an arm bar. Sorry for comments. Thank you for entertainment last night. Grandma passed away. Your stream, wrestling in general, help big time. Brent, and shout out to you, my friend. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear the bad news. There's been a lot of people actually been getting in touch recently with things like that, where people have passed away, pets have passed away, and whatnot. It's a rough time. So, Brenton, shout out to you, dudes. James said, Daisy's like me, we're English, so we don't care who he is. Dude, he's one of the Jackson 5. It was amazing. I think they're saying it's Tito Jackson. I'm still waiting to hear if Janet was there as well. I hope so. I hope she's well. Moxley has picked up the victory. Moxley gets the win over Lee Moriarty. Moxley won. Moxley. Big boot there by Ethan Page. Ethan Page laying out Moxley. Moxley. Ethan Page got his arms outstretched. Sign in the crowd says RIP Takeoff. Jeez. At the end of the first match, Darby Allin was taken out by Jeff Jarrett. End of the second match, Jon Moxley is taken out by Ethan Page. Just not worth having a match, is it, in AEW? There's just no winning. Even if you win, you get laid out. Right, here we go. I think we got the Saraya and Britt Baker. Okay, so Britt Baker hasn't shown. I know what it takes to be a star, says Saraya. She doesn't care about the division. She doesn't care about anybody but herself, says Saraya. I had to wrestle the same day I got hit by a car. That's Vince for you. Welcome back to professional wrestling. Why now, says Renee. Something special about AEW. Saraya said, I saw all these faces coming over and I just wanted to be a part of that. Looks like the division could use some help. Next question. Where do you stand medically? Seemed like you hung up the boots. Here we go. I was going to talk about it this week, but I'm going to save it for next week because there's one more doctor that I want to consult on this. I've got a feeling she's talking about Dr. Britt Baker, but it feels like she's talking about Dr. Nick. She's going to Dr. Nick in The Simpsons just to see if there's any way that she can come back. But I'm pretty sure she was talking about Dr. Britt Baker. Coming up next, though, Daddy Ass birthday bash. I gotta say, I was looking forward to Saraya Britt Baker sit down. Didn't deliver. I think there was 2 questions and, about her potentially returning to wrestling. We're going to see that next week. I would imagine she'll confirm that she can face-to-face with Britt in the ring next week. Commercial break. Did they even show MJF in his special seat like they've been doing? No, I haven't seen him yet, no. How is Daddy Ass and Jericho's match both next? It's going to be a really cramped ring. So we're going to have half of it for Daddy Ass's birthday celebration. And then Jericho is going to be going up against Nigel McGuinness in the other half of the ring. So it's wild. I really hope Nigel McGuinness does have a match. That is the one that I'm looking forward to. That's the one that I'm really, really anticipate. If it turns out to be Adam Cole, that'll be cool. People will pop. But there will be a part of me that will be like, that's not Nigel McGuinness. So Nigel McGuinness is the one I'm hoping for. Jericho versus Roosh. Is MJF on the show? I didn't see him as part of the preview, no. If they really want to break down the Forbidden Door, they could do a show with New Japan because they have a show on the same day. Who's this? WWE? I don't think they do want to break down the Forbidden Door, to be honest. I am quite interested in what's happening with Noah because my first read of it was that they were doing it to push Nakamura because Nakamura being the person to go over there makes sense, just makes perfect sense. They want Nakamura to be a big star in 2023. That was a report from the other week that came out. So him going over and being the one to face the Great Muta and go back to kind of reminding people what Nakamura can do in a wrestling ring. You know, him going over there to Japan, being the Nakamura of old. It would be a reminder as to how special this guy is. So I looked at it, I was like, God, that makes so much sense. You know, you're going to create a bit of a buzz about a Forbidden Door. You've got Nakamura, who's going to be built up. He's got a great match against Great Muta. Like, you're going to remind people how great he is. You can then push forward with him in 2023. Tick, 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 tick. It was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. But then Miss Clown told me about the news that Sheamus is having a match as well, and I did not expect that. I didn't expect Sheamus to be going over there as well. And that all of a sudden has kind of changed my opinion on it a little bit. And now it does start to look like there's a bit more of a working relationship there. So I don't know what's happening with Noah. I really don't know what's happening with Noah. But it feels like a bigger relationship than I first thought. Here's William Regal. They just showed Lamar Jackson. Max, you've got a long way to go to being a true villain. All the potential in the world won't help you become the AEW World Champion. Why don't you send him another shirty email? Eh? Why don't you do that, William Regal? Yo, now listen. Here we go. Yo. Make noise. It's Billy Gunn's birthday. Aw, it's a bit weak. The only one in there was, I'm going to make him pay like Elon Musk, because Elon Musk now is charging people $8 if they want to be verified on Twitter. $8 a month, I think it is, to be verified on Twitter. Daddy ass birthday bash. Someone's used pliers on Daddy Ass's hands. Oh, scissor me, Daddy. Oh, foam fingers, man. Brilliant. Been a tough weekend. I've heard him do better raps. I want Nigel as well, but probably not a former world champ tonight since they started saying a champ, not world champ. Oh. Can't scissor. No scissoring for Daddy S. Scissoring is taking over the world. Hey, there's someone under a table. Daddy ass can't scissor the cameraman. Oh. Gift number 1. What is gift number 1? Brand new. Yeah. They're brilliant, man. I saw someone in the crowd with them. Is there in fingers? Oh, look, I've got foam finger. Oh. Right, it's gone, but I did have one. I had a too sweet one, but this is, pink foam scissoring fingers they're selling now. Brilliant. Available now, AEWshop.com. Brilliant. They'll do well. They'll sell. Acclaimed. Acclaimed every Wednesday. I think it's going to be Matt Taven. David, shout out to you, dudes. Stock market, man. That whole thing is just not in a great place at the moment, is it? David, shout out to you, dudes. You are certainly not alone on that front. I think we got another gift that's lined up here for Daddy Ass. Here we go. Grab a gift. Oh, they're getting gifts from the crowds. Some people have brought. Some scissors from little kids. Oh, he scissored the kid. Oh, that's nice. There we go. Some scissors that the kid has made. He gives it a hug. Oh. Yeah, but what's under there? What's under there? You've got a couple more surprises. Alvarez said, big surprise is Jericho's opponent. Oh. Nigel McGuinness. Two-time tag team of the year. Billy hugging the scissors, said Blazed. They just said you was voted in, I think they said 1996 in one of the worst. Oh, world's greatest dad trophy. World's greatest dads. World's greatest dad trophy. Smile on the face. There's a lot of love for Billy, isn't there, these days? It's brilliant. It's got to be one of the best points of his career. Daddy, yes. Daddy, yes. He weren't getting these reactions when he was in the Smoking Guns. One more thing. I planned some surprises. Oh, crotch chop. I planned some surprises, but they were upset you didn't go to the reunion. It's a good line. Here we go. We got a plaque. Yeah. A certificate of adoption. Have they adopted him? But I don't know what it is. It's an adoption thing. Have they adopted him as their dads? Sign it. Sign it. I get to be your daddy. Who's coming out? Any guesses who fake Sting was that attacked Darby? Yeah, it was revealed to be Colton Cole. Ass boys. Ass boys are here. Ass boys are here. Well, we answered that one. And AEW referencing AEW. Absolutely shocking stuff, said Enigma. Okay, so the Gun Club are here. They're upset they weren't invited. Oh. Morrissey is in there, taking out all three on his own. Oh, it's been ruined, guys. It's been ruined. Oh, who saw this coming, eh? The birthday bash has been ruined. Unbelievable. Make it stop, said Boomers. Make it stop. Corey said, who in the blue hell is Colton Cole? This FTR? Yes, top guys are coming out. FTR making their way down. Big FTR chants. FTR shirt that they've got reminds me a lot of a Bret Hart shirt. I think that's based on a Bret Hart shirt, the one that Dax is wearing. Dun, dun, dun. Top guys, they have a family, damn it. The time Sammy did it on Raw was funny and unique. Did you notice a few weeks ago on SmackDown, in a backstage segment with Solo, Sammy, Jimmy J, they chanted "We the Ones" in the same way the Elite chant "The Elite, the Elite." I can't say that I did, to be honest. What they said, "We the ones, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones." I don't remember them saying that. Here's Britt, by the way. I've been a victim of conspiracy. Here's Jamie. She's sick of the BS. Find us a tag team. Okay. Is this Jericho? I never know if it's Jericho or Jade. I always find their logos quite similar. Is it? I am so pleased to tell you, I seriously do not know how Judas begins. So I honestly don't know if it was him or not, but it is. Right, apparently this is going to be something worth paying attention to. Jericho versus... Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Na 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 na. Can't stand this song. Yeah, I can't stand this song. This building, this city means so much for the Ring of Honor brand. Okay. So who's it going to be? We're waiting to find out. Jericho in the ring. They might make us wait a little bit longer. Why does Darby have no friends? Well, he did have Sting, didn't he? But I don't think they're. I don't know what their relationship's like now. He's kind of been making noises that he doesn't need him anymore. Here's Jericho then. Last week made me mad. I'm ready. Against any former Ring of Honor champion. So any former Ring of Honor champion. Women's champion, pure champion. He said, I'll even whip Lamar Jackson's ass. Lamar is having a little giggle about that. I mean, judging by the crowd reaction to Lamar, I feel like that would be a big, big moment. Tonight is going to be another monumental night in the reign of the Ojo. So who's it going to be? Here we go. Come on. They said it's going to be a big deal, according to Brian Alvarez. Nice reaction. It's Colt. Am I missing something? What am I missing here? What am I missing? Good for Colt. Yeah, good for Colt. Am I missing something? Okay. I mean, I know about the backstory with him and CM Punk and everything, but he's one of their wrestlers. He's on their roster. Am I meant to be surprised they're using him? I don't. What I've missed something. I've missed something. Welcome back, chants from the AEW fans. He ain't done nothing wrong, though, has he? I mean, Colt's not done anything wrong here. He's not he's not done nothing wrong. If Colt's in the match, it must mean that Punk's 100% gone. I don't think so. CM Punk never stood in the way of Colt. He never stood in the way of Colt, did he? And that was CM Punk's whole thing, was that he said, like, I'm not getting in the way of Colt's career. I've got nothing to do with Colt being moved to Ring of Honor. It's nothing to do with me. Like, he's got his life. I've got my life. And that's it. I mean, look, this isn't AEW's fault, because AEW did not hype this up. This is not from AEW. So this is nothing to do with them. It was just that Brian Alvarez had been told that it was going to be something big. And I think having a wrestler on your show that is one of your wrestlers that you pay to have wrestle for you, I just don't see that being very big. Not really that. The only reason Cabana is on TV is to screw with Punk, said Corey. I disagree. I disagree, because Colt was been on TV when Punk's been in. It's not like we've not seen Colt since CM Punk has arrived. Colt used to be in the Dark Order, didn't he? They just kept them apart. It's felt very much like CM Punk's had his stories going on in AEW and Colt's had his stories. To my knowledge, CM Punk has never said to Tony that he wants Colt off TV and wants him away from Dynamite and all of this. I think he doesn't want to work with him. But this has got nothing to do with CM Punk. This is Jericho taking on a former Ring of Honor champion. Colt's a former Ring of Honor champion. There's still time left in the show. There is, but the rumors were this is where the big talking point is. I have to stress this again, though. I do have to re-stress. This is nothing to do with AEW. This is not their fault. They never said there was something massive. Tony didn't say there was something massive. It's Brian Alvarez that said it was something massive. So perhaps they think this is massive. Perhaps there's people out there that also think this is massive. I don't think this is anything at all. Props to Grapsody for calling it. Brenton said, Brian probably meant big given the all-out brawl. To be honest to Brian, right, to give him credit, he said, I've been told it's something big, but I don't know what it is. So he was told it was something big, but he didn't know what it was. Funny, suspend and buy out Punk, run promos for Young Bucks and Elite. Now Colt surprise match for Dynamite, said TGB. Who told Alvarez that? Don't know. Just saw the clip doing the rounds of Alvarez chatting on the Wrestling Observer podcast saying that he'd been told by someone within AEW something big was going to go down tonight on Dynamite and that Twitter would be a buzzing about it afterwards. And then as the show was going on, we got the Jeff Jarrett moment and we were like, is this what they're talking about? And then in the chat, people are like, rumors are it's going to be Jericho's opponent. And now Colt Cabana's come out. I mean, what I will say is that it's obviously Colt is heavily involved in what happened with CM Punk because, you know, he was mentioned during that press conference, of course. But, I mean, he hasn't done anything wrong. To my knowledge, he's done nothing since CM Punk came in. He's kept himself to himself. He's still employed by AEW. He's had matches in AEW. He's had matches in AEW while CM Punk's been in AEW. He's been gone since the media thing. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think him being back is an indication of anything to do with CM Punk. Let's be real. Jericho will face someone major from Ring of Honor at Full Gear. Days, do a poll. What do you want me to do a poll for, Kyle? He doesn't do anything at all, says Horrorcore. Right, Jericho in the ring then. It's Jericho against Colt. How long we got? We got 56 minutes to go. Sonny said, do you like soft cookies or hard cookies? I like soft cookies. I also like soft cookies. Big forearm strike there by Jericho. This is the Elite and Jericho messing with Punk, said Surge. I don't think it is. Personally, I don't think it is. I don't think they're messing with CM Punk. I think that they would, you know, they're quite happy for you to think that, but I don't think this is what it is at all. I think Colt Cabana is signed to AEW. He's someone that has been on Dynamite before. This isn't someone that they've just brought in from nowhere. If Colt Cabana wasn't with AEW and they had just gone out and got him after everything that happened, then I would say, yes, big deal. That's a big deal because they didn't have to go and get him, but they've actually specifically gone out and got him. But the truth is, he's under AEW contract and he has been for years. He's been in the Dark Order and we've seen him on Dynamite and he's been involved in storylines and like we've seen Colt. He's a wrestler that they employ. So, like, I'm not that shocked that they're giving him TV time. Colt going up. We heard, actually, that they'd moved him to, like, the Ring of Honor roster. That if you remember back to the media scrum fallout, the fallout was that Colt had been moved, like, over to the Ring of Honor side. This is a Ring of Honor match. Like, there is no Ring of Honor show at the moment. So, like, if you are going to use Colt, this is the exact match that you would use him in. This is what you would use him in. What else are you going to use him for? Takedown. Looking for the walls. Isn't a champ still a champ no matter the prefix? Are they going to put the belt on Colt? That would bring a ton of eyes to Ring of Honor and the belt because of the Punk Association, said Jack. Look, if they put that'll be interesting. If they put the belt on Colt, that would be interesting. Going for the back elbow. Backslides. Cabana trying to turn Jericho over. CM Punk marks just want to blame for their faves not being there, says Trini Bo Peep. This has been a long, boring week in wrestling, said Can't Stop, Won't Stop. Colt can't get a finish here. Colt going against the ropes, goes over the top, looking for the pin. Jake Hager pulls on the arms of Colt. Colt looking for a springboard moonsault and connects. Colt's got something attached to his back. I don't know what he's got. Collides over. What's he got on him? Code breaker by Jericho. 1, 2, 3. Jericho wins. Jericho wins. Jericho retains. And still. Maggie said, this is down to Jericho and before the return of the Elite. Give them a nice surprise present coming back. Make you puke. This is all down to Jericho and before the return of the Elite. Give them a nice surprise present coming back. Make you puke. I don't know what you mean, dude. What do you mean? They weren't using him. They probably think it's a way of getting back at Punk. I disagree. I really disagree. I don't think this is anything to do with Punk. I think they've got a wrestler that they're paying for that they are going to have to use somehow. They're not just paying him to sit at home. And the story is that Jericho is taking on old champions, old Ring of Honor champions. Colt's an old Ring of Honor champion. If you don't use him in this match, how are you using him? When do you use him? Why have you got him? Why are you paying for him? Ring of Honor are going to start doing TV shows next year, says Gordon. Because the Elite and Jericho hate Punk. Yeah, but how's this getting back at Punk? I don't understand this argument. How has this got back at Punk? Punk's left. They've got Colt. They bring Colt. CM Punk said, "I don't care what happens with Colt. I don't want nothing to do with Colt. He's basically dead to me. Do what you want with him." So how is him being on Dynamite sticking it in CM Punk's face? It's a flawed argument. How is that getting back at CM Punk? How does that get back at CM Punk? If they'd gone out and signed Colt, then I would agree. Then I'd be like, oh, they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to go and get him specifically, but they've gone and got him specifically as a way of saying this is the side we're choosing. But he was there already. He's already under contract. He's already an active wrestler. If anything, it's been a disgrace that we've not used him more. I mean, poor guy's just been sat in catering, waiting for something to do. And now we finally get a story where Jericho's going to defend against former champions. He was always going to defend against Colt at some point, surely. If he didn't defend against Colt, then we've actually got some discrimination going on for some reason. Then we are actively not, we are discriminating against Colt, because why would Jericho defend against former Ring of Honor champions and not defend against Colt? So I don't see it that way, that this is a middle finger up to CM Punk. I see this as part of the story of the Ring of Honor title. I think I can understand that certain fans will take it that way and will want to believe that that's what's happening, that this is somehow Tony and AEW picking sides. But CM Punk has been very clear in saying that he doesn't care. Rewatch the media scrum. The whole thing exploded because the conversation was that CM Punk had got Colt Cabana moved away from the active roster. And CM Punk's like, I have not mentioned him. He's dead to me. I don't want anything to do with him. Like, it's ridiculous. He competed on the same shows. He was in the Dark Order. Like, It doesn't make any sense to me that this is being portrayed that way. Perhaps it is a talking point. Perhaps I just see it different to certain people, and so perhaps it is like a conversation piece. But to me, that's... You've got CM Punk. He's sat backstage. He's a former Ring of Honor champion. Jericho's going up against former champions. 2 + 2 = 4. And this is, I mean, like... I'll be very interested to see what the fallout is of that. I'll be very interested. I don't see how that represents any picking of sides. Colt has never moved a needle in his time in AEW. The big story is Punk leaving, Elite returning, and Colt back on TV, says Chads. Jericho versus Adam Cole at Full Gear, maybe. Cole is supposed to be returning, and he is an ex-Ring of Honor champion. Any opinion on the fight we just saw? Not really. There's a lot of like fights that happen after. I get so bored of them. It's like everyone has a match and then there's an attack afterwards. So I just don't care. Master Chief said, I switched off for a while. I think it's extreme poor taste. It's timing. That's the clue. What timing? What timing? What timing? This thing blew up ages ago. So, like, what timing? Like, they have done an investigation into it, and we've got to the point now where, how long has Jericho been doing this for? Jericho's been doing this kind of Ring of Honor going up against champions. We don't know when that idea came about, and, like, we don't quite know when. So, like, the whole media scrum thing happened, was it, like, May time or something? I can't remember. But, like, throughout that time, we've not been seeing Colts. How long have we... There's been no creative for Colt. There's been nothing there for Colt. The whole thing blew up because Colt had been seemingly moved to a Ring of Honor roster. Now you get Jericho doing a story where he's going up against former champions. And this week's Colt's turn? I don't get it. What timing? Nothing's confirmed. Nothing's confirmed that CM Punk has been bought out. CM Punk right now is still an active AEW superstar. No, if it had been a case that CM Punk had been bought out and he was gone, and that news had broke this week, and then Colt comes on, maybe then you could say timing. But you bring Colt back at any point since that media scrum, and people are going to say timing. People are going to say coincidence. I'm buying it. I don't feel like it's... I feel like they want you to think it's connected. I feel like they want you to talk about it. And I think they've anticipated that that's going to be where the conversation is. And that's why they spoke to Brian Alvarez about it and said, look, something big's going to go down. Everyone's going to talk about it. And someone in AEW's got very excited at the idea that this is going to create a buzz. All I'm seeing is an AEW wrestler having an AEW match. That's all I'm seeing. I guess Colt fixed the fan belt on Adam Page's lawnmower, says Thomas. Adam said JC Jane versus Alba Fire on Tuesday, and then it is going to be against Mandy Rose. Alex said, you're wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong, Alex. Saying that I'm wrong is one thing. Tell me how I'm wrong. Did you see the super chat? No. Have a look. I don't know if it's there. Oh, there it is. Has every match ended in a fight so far? Yes. Yes, I think every match has ended in a fight so far. So every match, we've had a match and then we've had a brawl afterwards. Right, what have we got? We've got OC versus Luchasaurus versus Phoenix. Alvarez said it would get people talking, and here we are. That is true, actually. It said it would get people talking, and here we are. I suppose, in a way, I'm just surprised at the reaction people have had to it. I am surprised people are taking it that way, but people are taking it that way. But what about the news Jericho told off CM Punk less than a week ago, and now he's wrestling Colt? It's not a coincidence. What about the news he told Jericho off what about the news CM Punk told? What about the news Jericho told off CM Punk less than a week ago? I don't even know if I know that news. Don't even think I heard that news, to be honest. My point still remains. You're doing a storyline where Jericho is facing... I feel like I'm just going around in circles. You're telling a storyline where you're going up against former Ring of Honor champions. Colt Cabana is someone they've got signed as an AEW superstar who is a former Ring of Honor champion. I think we were always going to get this match. This match was always going to happen at some point. It's happened this week. Now, if it happens next week, people would say the same thing. You know, what if next week CM Punk gets his release and then you do it next week? People are like, oh, they're doing this to get at CM Punk. You could do it in 2 weeks' time. People would say the same thing. That this story, this CM Punk story and the Elite and everything, this has been rumbling on for quite a while. You could have done this match at any point over any week since that media scrum, and people would say the same thing. People would sit there and say, this is them trying to, you know, stick a finger up to CM Punk. You could pick any week and people would say that it's not a coincidence, right? My counter argument is that this storyline is Jericho taking on former Ring of Honor champions. We were always going to get Jericho Colt Cabana, and they're doing it this week. I don't care if it's this week, next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whenever the match happens, people would turn around and say, oh, they're doing this to get at CM Punk. I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I think they know that there'll be a buzz created. I think they know what the wrestling fans and the wrestling world is like, and they know that, oh my God, Colt Cabana's connected with CM Punk. It's a little dig, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think it is connected. I think this is a match we were always going to get. I don't think they've done this specifically to stick a finger up at... it's not like they've gone out and signed him. It's not like he was just twiddling his thumbs at home and he's not wrestled in 10 years and they've brought him in, is it? He's an you do know he's an AEW wrestler. You do know that he's under contract and that he's been having matches and we've seen him before. So, hard disagree. Man United against Real Sociedad in Spain. Yes. I don't know what that's relevant to, Adam, but shout out to you. Let's vote on it and accept the result, said Master Chief. There's no need to vote on it. There's no need to vote on it, is there? Because this isn't an opinion piece. I'm not gonna change my mind. If a poll comes back like 60-40 that people think it's a dig at CM Punk, that doesn't change my opinion. Equally, if it comes back 60-40 that it's just, you know, a match we were always getting, that's not going to change your opinion. So doing a poll on it would be irrelevant. Seems a little coincidental, yeah, but my point remains that you can do it any week and it'll be coincidental. If they'd have done it last week, you'd have said the same. If they'd have done it 2 weeks ago, you'd have said the same. If you did it next week, you'd say the same. If they did it in 2 weeks' time, you would say the same. Where's the coincidence? Right, we are underway. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I think people are going to be split on that. And what I will agree with is it definitely did spark a bigger conversation than I was anticipating. As soon as he walked out, I thought it was just really flat. Just thought it was a AEW wrestler having an AEW wrestling match. But seemingly there is a strong contingent out there that feel that it is a diss to CM Punk. But we are underway with this All-Atlantic Championship match. We've got OC taking on Rey Fenix, taking on Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus in control at the moment. As we go over to picture-in-picture. It's timing. That's the clue as to why it's a dig. Punk was Nick Jackson, who went to Tony Khan to keep Colt. Why bring Colt right back after the sham investigation ended, says Brenton. So timing, as I said, You can go last week and people would have said that it's a knock at CM Punk. It doesn't matter that it's right at the end of the investigation. You could have done this match during the investigation and people would have said, oh, they're picking sides. Oh my God, look, they've done Colt and they're picking sides. The one thing I will say is that if you're trying to smooth things over, if you're trying to get CM Punk to agree to re-sign, as I would imagine Tony wants. I think Tony, in an ideal world, wants to keep the Elite, he wants to keep Kenny Omega, and he wants to keep CM Punk. Why would he want to lose any of those? It's hard enough getting ratings as it is. If you're Tony Khan, why do you want to lose any of those? He certainly didn't want to lose CM Punk when he was sat next to him at the media scrum. The praise that he has for him, right? He knows how important that guy is. You've heard the list of achievements that CM Punk has done, right? Kept being champion as well, belt was put on him. I think it was a couple of times, but either way, he was the guy, yeah? So you're not going to want to lose the Elite. You're not going to want to lose CM Punk. You're not going to want to lose Hangman Page. You're not going to want to lose Kenny Omega. If you're Tony, you don't want to lose any, right? Incident happens. You then get the investigation. Now, what I will admit is that if you did this match whilst the investigation is on and you're trying to keep CM Punk around, anything that could rock the boat, that could be seen as being disrespectful, right? Anything that could be seen as picking a side, that could be a problem, couldn't it? If you're trying to say to CM Punk, look, I want you to stick around, and then on Dynamite, you do Jericho versus Colt, and the internet's talking, gets blown out of proportion. Oh my God, that CM Punk's going, they've chosen Colt Cabana. Do you run the risk of upsetting CM Punk at that point? I don't think you would. But maybe there's a reason as to why they've not done it during the investigation period. Because maybe during that investigation period, Tony Khan was hoping of a way of actually keeping CM Punk and wanted to find a way of actually seeing if you could keep him. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's why we didn't get it during the investigation and why we've got it now the investigation is over. Because seemingly now the investigation has concluded, it seems like CM Punk doesn't want any part to do with AEW and wants to go. So really, if you do this match now, it doesn't make a difference, does it? Doesn't matter if you do it now. If you upset CM Punk, seemingly there's no way forward. The investigation's been completed. CM Punk's seemingly going to get bought out of his contract. So you can do the match and you're not going to upset anyone, right? Not that I think it would upset CM Punk anyway. He's been very clear about the fact that he doesn't care about Colt. And he's been very clear about the fact that it doesn't matter to him. That whatever Colt does, use him however you want. I'm not bothered. He does his thing. I'll do my thing. Yeah. Don't want anything to do with him. That is CM Punk's mentality. That's what he's told us in that media scrum. He does not care about Colt. Colt being on TV does not affect CM Punk in any way. It's no diss. It's no knock. It's nothing. Colt has been on AEW TV. I keep coming back to this point. This is not the first time of us seeing him. He's been on this show before. He's a signed AEW superstar. This is what he does. He wrestles for AEW. So I can go as far as to say, okay, maybe the investigation did result in them not wanting to use Cole. It's very explosive. There's lots of moving parts. Let things die down. Right? I'll go that far. I'd go that far. But I won't go as far as to saying they're only doing that to send a message to CM Punk. Because it doesn't send a message. What message are you sending? Thanks for being with us. Now we're going to go back to using Colt as we always have. Okay. I just don't get it. I don't get the argument. So I again, I have to say a hard disagree. I think we'll just keep going around in circles on it. Serge said the problem's not Colt, it's other people, the Elite and Jericho. I'm glad that Colt is back on TV. John said the other talking point was Renee wearing what she was wearing to salute Sheamus or mock him. I didn't notice what Renee was wearing. Jungle Boy is attacked from behind. I thought he was wearing like an Apple clothing thing there. He's got like a rainbow pattern across his chest. Thought he'd been inspired by the Apple collection we looked at earlier. Christian Cage is being chased away with a chair. Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy launches crossbody. Goes diving off of the entrance stage. Crossbody, Luchasaurus driven through the table. So we've got Jungle Boy down. We got Luchasaurus down. And holy ship chants by the crowd. Can't wait for SmackDown. AEW is boring and disappointment, said TJB. James said Punk only came back for money in the first place, so F him. Heather said that was a great spear by Jungle Boy. Right, so looks like Luchasaurus has been taken out of this match. We've got Orange Cassidy and we've got Rey Fenix. Pac's making his way down. Pac grabs Orange Cassidy, chucks him into the ring. Phoenix has been given a hammer. I think that's the ring bell hammer. Rey Fenix throws the hammer away, says he doesn't need it. He's probably going to get caught with a orange punch, is he? No, actually, roll through by Orange. Reversed by Phoenix. Reversed by Orange. Both guys on the feet. Super kick by Phoenix. Feels like we're getting towards the end of this. There it is. Orange punch. 1, 2, 3. And it's a win for Orange Cassidy. You could sense that was getting towards the end of the match. Pac jumps in and another match where we get another beatdown straight after Pac attacking Orange Cassidy. Renee was wearing a plaid blouse when she was doing interviews after the Jericho and Friends incident. It looks Scottish, hence my question. Can't say I noticed. I am a guy, though, so when it comes to women's clothing, I am a little bit blind, as men don't notice those things all the time. Someone's making their way out now. It is Shibata. Oh, now that's cool. Now that's cool. Rocky Romero, Shibata has made his way out. That's nice. Shibata making his way down to the ring. That's nice. I like that. Holy ship chance for Shibata. Shibata in the ring, looking over at Orange Cassidy. He's had Orange Cassidy. I can't remember what we did with him around Forbidden Door, to be honest. Orange Cassidy is back up on his feet. Contract handed over to Shibata. So we're going to get Shibata against Orange Cassidy. Oh, so that's Rampage. So Rampage is going to be Shibata versus Orange Cassidy. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. We got Tony backstage with Rick Ross and Swerve. The biggest boss, Rick Ross. But no one knows what's going on backstage. We've only heard one side. There's 3 sides. We've got to wait till every side comes out, says Just Nick. Rick Ross. Rick Ross said that he wants to make Swerve the biggest wrestling star in the industry and the largest recording artist in the world. Here's Keith Lee. Keith Lee has stepped... Look at the size of Keith Lee, man. Keith Lee towers over Rick Ross. So we got Keith Lee and Swerve backstage with Rick Ross. We're keeping it positive. We're number one contenders. So Keith is saying that Swerve is cheating. That's not what we're doing right now. So I think Keith Lee, they're planting the seeds here for a swerve. Rick Ross laughing to himself, screaming, 8-man tag! He's a good little talker, Rick Ross, you know. Toast, baby. Number one in the world. Rick Ross doing a good job there, you know. Right, here is the problem. Punk will be out of action. I've got a feeling Tony Khan will change his mind and have him stay. I think he wants him to stay. I think he wants to try and find a way of keeping him. I don't think he wants to get rid of him. Marina Shafir against Jade Cargill. Tony is out of place right there. He is a bit out of place. You don't know me. You know me. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. People say it's a bad promo. I think it's brilliant because I can remember it. It's iconic. It's one of the only promos outside of MJF I can actually remember. You don't know me. I like Marina's old entrance music. Brent said the problem is here. What is with women's MMA fighters' lack of promo skills? Ronda, Shayna, Marina. They don't have to do it, do they? They don't have to do it. When do they cut promos? I mean, they get interviewed after the matches, after they fight, which are never engaging. So many people get an opportunity to talk and they thank God, thank their parents, and that's about it. And then press conferences are very few and far between. You tend to get them for the big shows, but it's only the big shows and it's only the main card that actually get to answer questions. And to be honest, outside of Connor, maybe Masvidal, a lot of them are quite flat. Vicky's coming out. Vicky and Nyla are coming out. Oh, God. Are they going to do live commentary? Nyla and Vicky going to do commentary standing on the... Oh, my God. We found a way of making this worse. We found a way of making this worse. So we've got Jade against Marina Shafir. If I'm Marina Shafir, I'm really not happy about this. I'm having a match against Jade Cargill, and it's split screen at times. And Nyla Rose and Vicky are talking all over the top of it. God, why have they done this? So Nyla Rose and Vicky commentating. Have they stopped? They might have stopped. No. Jade is going over to Nyla. You're so obsessed with numbers, you need to pay attention to what the ref is saying. Jade gets back into the ring. Goes for a strike. Marina around the back. Go for a knee bar. Jade over in the corner. Big kick. Marina goes down. So much hate for AEW. Why are people here, says Heather. I wanted to just see what these two could do one-on-one. But I think it's disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to Jade and Marina to have those two like talking on the entrance ramp during the match. Who was that? Kiera Hogan. And Kiera Hogan tried to get the championship as Nyla Rose storms away. If the crowd started chanting, JD has made celebrity status, says Channel. Brenton said, when is Full Gear? Does that oppose UFC or anything else? I haven't looked, to be honest. I genuinely don't know. Samoa Joe taking on Brian Cage. That is coming up next. Leo said, whatever happened to Paige Van Zandt? She signed a contract, but haven't seen her wrestle, I think once. I don't know what happened to her. She's, I believe, still under contract, but again, someone that's kind of sat in the catering. It's quite a few that seemingly can't get onto TV at the moment. There's a sign in the crowd that says more AEW, less Ring of Honor. Serge said, I agree, but that is their funny, twisted sense of humor. I don't like the finishes where you have to do them so the thing works, says Jonathan. Full Gear is November 19th. Right, main event coming up next. Samoa Joe against Brian Cage. Oh, look at this. We've got Malachi here. House of Black. So there's Malachi. What is this? A bit weird, isn't it? So Julia Hart was just putting some crucifixes. Burying them? Funerals for the House of Black? Now they're being... Oh, I thought they were buried. Now they're being taken out to water. I think one's been buried. One's been put at sea. Is another about to be burnt? That makes sense, doesn't it? So one of them has been buried. One has been buried at sea, and the other is about to be burnt. That's some nice imagery. That was some nice imagery. We got the body like jerking back to life in the water. We got a hand coming through the ground, and there was a nice image there of someone like seemingly being burnt that was like really starting to like make some movements. Again, you know, kind of try and escape from that. So seems like House of Black are being reborn. There's been a few people wondering if Malachi might be behind the Uncle Howdy mask, but I don't think so. Samoa Joe taking on Brian Cage. And I think, as I said, that pretty much confirms that he is staying with AEW. I think that was pretty much known anyway, but definitely helped a struggling show, said Master Chief. In the center, boom. Black is Uncle Howdy, confirmed. House of Black teaser was better than Jade's match. It would be hilarious if Tony Khan and his dad bought WWE if the McMahons ever sold. James said it was great, but a bit confused. LT said House of Black teaser was better than Jade's match. WWE ripoff, said Marty. Mr. Robot said it's still trash. Right, we've got 19 minutes to go. Who was the guy from New Japan showing up a big surprise that was meant to blow up Twitter? I don't think so. I think the thing that's meant to blow up Twitter is the Colt Cabana situation. I think that was meant to blow up Twitter. And without looking at Twitter, I don't know if it has or if it hasn't. I think the Shibata was nice. The Shibata moment's really cool because for those that don't watch New Japan, he was the person that used to be known for like headbutts. And he actually, during one of his matches, I can't remember if it was at the end of the match or whatever, but he collapsed and he got taken to hospital. And it turns out that he had like really bad head trauma. And it was, they think, from the amount of headbutts that he used to do. And he was at one point seemingly fighting for his life. He was in a really, really bad way. And so like people didn't know like what the future was going to hold. Almost certainly felt like he was done. And so he was actually gone from wrestling for quite a while and seemingly no chance of ever returning. But he has returned. So not only did he survive, not only is he still with us, but he returned back to wrestling. And so it feels like he is someone very important because he was a great wrestler and a big star. Not their biggest. He wasn't up there with like a card or, you know, whatever. But he's one of their big stars. But it's more like really kind of what happened with him and the fact that this is like a second chance at life, certainly a second chance of in ring. So he's one of those people that when you see him, you go, "Oh, it's Shibata." Like, yeah, cool. It's just cool to see him, like, you know. So I think if you don't have that kind of backstory, then maybe it doesn't hit. And certainly if you've never heard of him, you're not going to care. But I thought it was nice. I thought it was a good moment. But I don't think it's a moment that's meant to blow up social media. There'll obviously be those fans that do appreciate it, though. Right, they are just... oh, hello, what's this? Toni Storm against Jamie Hayter. So that is going to be the interim women's title match at Full Gear. Toni Storm against Jamie Hayter. Me and Jamie used to live together in England, says I didn't know that. We became like sisters. We used to live together in England? I never knew that. I'm the same Jamie Hayter that I've always been. Maybe people just didn't notice before. I like that. I really like that. That is great. That gives some real background on like their relationship. Love the moving graphics as well. That was really good. I'd love some more of that, some sit-down interviews that just gives you a bit more background, bit more insight. The Embassy art coming out. So, guessing this is Brian Cage. I hope Jamie Hayter wins, said James. Maggie said, I think Howdy is Bray and all the other parts of Bray's personality. If Howdy is anyone other than Bo, will it be a letdown? Bray is Howdy himself. I don't think it'd be a letdown at all. No, not at all. I think, I think that it's Bray. If it turns out to be Bo, fine. I can, definitely go with that. I think if it turns out to be, I don't know, Tyler Bateman or someone like this, I don't think it's a letdown at all because it's all part of a bigger story as to where it's all leading. Depends who it is, isn't it? Depends who it is. I mean, if it's someone like Baron Corbin that just doesn't really make much sense, then you would go... I mean, maybe then you'd be a bit confused and it might be a bit of a letdown. But to be honest, it's clearly not Baron Corbin. And the people that are in the running for it, I think all of them are very credible. Here's Samoa Joe. Just explain why AEW gets so much hate now as opposed to yesterday. People fear what it is or is not happening. People fear what is or is not happening in AEW, says William. Chris said, Hater is more organically over than any other woman in AEW. She deserves the win. Just Nick said, I think the character is Bo, but the person playing him is Bray. What said, when was the last time Colt fought solo in a big championship match? It felt like when Punk returned, he was booked to be on Dark and in the background of the Dark Order. So Colt has never really been like a guy that's been in a big position in AEW. We can disagree on this, but I don't think the Ring of Honor World Championship is a big title. I mean, it's slap bang in the middle of a Dynamite cards. Like, I understand it's on Jericho right now, but the reason it's on Jericho right now is to make it feel important. So I would argue that how they've just used Colt there is not that far out of really how they've been using him. He's been, all right, yeah, he's not on Dark, but he has been on Dynamite before. And before he was in the Dark Order, I believe he was competing solo. But then he joined the Dark Order, and the Dark Order were, again, they were quite a big deal. When he was in with the Dark Order, he was getting some TV time. I understand he was part of a faction, but he was getting TV time. But the story here is that Jericho is going up against former Ring of Honor champions. So surely one of the first things you would do is you would look at your roster and you would identify who you've got on your roster that's a former Ring of Honor champion. And so then you've got a list of opponents for Jericho to go up against. And Colt Cabana is a former Ring of Honor champion. So I don't see it as I don't see that as a big title match. It's not as if we're building towards Jericho versus Colt at the pay-per-view, is it? It's not as if the Ring of Honor World Championship is rivaling the AEW World Championship for main event status. It's one of the low end put on Jericho to make it feel more important, so that when Ring of Honor starts up, I think next year, people have already got familiar to the Ring of Honor titles, and hopefully they'll have a bit of prestige about them. You've got to make people care about Ring of Honor, because in all fairness, hardcore wrestling fans, I think, would be interested. But there are more than just hardcore wrestling fans that watch AEW. There's people that are just into AEW. There's undeniably kids and people that watch AEW that have never paid any interest to Ring of Honor. So you need to make them care about Ring of Honor before it starts. And so having Jericho carry that belt is, a good way of doing it. Can we appreciate Samoa Joe's longevity for a minute? He's a bit injury prone, but he surely is a beast. Yep. It is true. He is not great looking strikes there by Brian Cage. There is no defeat. WWE, AEW driven. AEW is not run like a business. It should be. AEW is perceived like a gladiator Colosseum Roman. Tony Khan is the king. No one's saying Punk is in the wrong. Everyone else has played their parts. Is it true Matt Cardona is going back to WWE? I've not seen that. I've seen him tease it. And I think that rumor's come because Chelsea Green is being linked to WWE. So obviously he's, they're together. So if she goes back, there's probably a really good chance that, he will find his way going back as well. Not guaranteed, but he would love to go back, I'm sure. And I think it's the Chelsea Green thing that's kind of really sparked it. So I think that's where it's coming from, but I can't say I've seen anything specifically related to him. James said, I think Cage will be champ by the end of the night. Cage up on his feet. Strikes coming in by Samoa Joe. Jake said, do you remember when people genuinely thought Eva Marie was in Bray's faction? No. I don't, to be honest. When did people genuinely think she was in the faction? May 29th is put a pillow in your fridge day, said Kojiko. Right, I think we are at commercial break, and this might be the final commercial break. We've got 9 minutes left of the show. Leg drops here by Brian Cage. Cage needs to lay off the juice, says Master Chief. Samoa Joe is rolling over, trying to roll away from Brian Cage. Brian Cage is firmly in control. Kyle said, imagine if someone said last year Punk would be gone and Brian Cage would be main eventing. Jim said, Matt Cardona has said that Zack Ryder is dead. I still feel like if the offer came in, he wouldn't turn it down, to be honest. I mean, maybe he'd speak to them about not reviving the Zack Ryder name. Perhaps he would want to go back as Matt Cardona. But I can't see him turning it down. Certainly not if Chelsea Green was to go there as well. The exposure you get from being in WWE, it's such a boost to your social media. And do you know what I mean? It's hard. I mean, he's having to work so hard, like doing all the stuff he's doing on the indie circuit, which I'm sure he's enjoying. But you get a lot more exposure for seemingly a lot less work if you go to WWE, and more money. I mean, ticks a lot of boxes. Eric said, no Cult Dark Order mention. I've got late, sorry. No Cult Dark Order mention. Don't know what you mean. What do you mean by that, Eric? What do you mean? James said, she put that post out saying, if I get Lily in the bit... Oh. Yeah. That really surprised me how that blew up, actually. That really surprised me. John said, part of the problem with the Ring of Honor Championship is it feels like Tony hasn't figured out what to do with it. Giving Jericho the belt isn't enough to justify what he is paid. Kelly says, how are you? I'm doing good. Hope you're well, Kelly. Brock said, I don't see the cult thing as a big deal. Something coming in the last 10 minutes. Well, to be honest with you, bud, I didn't see it as a big deal, but look at the conversation that happened after. And look at the kind of passionate debate that people kind of, took different sides on whether it was a knock to CM Punk. I do agree with the chat when people were saying, well, look at the conversation we've had here, times that by social media, and maybe it is true. They said that something would happen that would spark a big conversation on Twitter and, is going to really get people talking. I think it probably was that. Thoughts on GCW WWE relationship? If it's anything like potential partnership with NWA, heard Corgan might be interested as NWA is not developmental. We've touched on it. I don't understand this GCW WWE relationship. What I've read, and we read it on a watch along during a watch along, was apparently something to do with how the show is watched. So I think they could end up going onto the WWE network. And if you want to watch GCW, that's where you go to watch it. I don't know that we're going to see anything other than that, to be honest. I mean, maybe WWE will send some people to a GCW show. Perhaps the relationship could end up being a bit like Noah and what we're seeing now, but I don't expect it to be anything massive. I mean, I wouldn't have expected you. Last week, if you'd have asked me, will WWE send people to a GCW show, I would have said no. Having seen now that they're sending them to Noah shows, I think it's a bit more likely. But I don't see GCW stars coming into WWE. I don't see there being a forbidden door or a crossover event or anything along these lines. But following the Noah news, then, maybe we do get some stars going over to GCW. But the bit I read that caught my interest was apparently the bit where they say about how you watch GCW is going to be changing. So that made me think, are they going to put them on the network? So that's kind of where I think the relationship is. But I'm not expecting to tune into Raw and have GCW invade. Not expecting that. GCW has got a new deal with Fight. Their shows are on Fight now. Well, there we go then. So it's not that then. So my best guess is that maybe we see if there is any relationship there, maybe we see a couple of stars work a GCW show, similar to how a couple of stars, Sheamus and Nakamura, are working a Noah show. Brian Cage is underrated, said Mitchell. WWE should partner with Impact. Impact have shows on YouTube, says Channel. Love the House of Black vignettes. Trini said GCW say they've got no plans to work with WWE and they're hopeful their relationship with AEW will continue. Almiron is one player of the month. Much deserved. Knees to the midsection by Cage. Looking for a pump handle. Picking up. Oh, it wasn't a pump handle slam. Alex, shout out to you. 2. Shoulder up by Samoa Joe. Shoulder up by Samoa Joe. Apparently, Sheamus going to Noah is a false rumor. Oh, I saw a graphic for that. Oh my God. If that turns out to be false and someone's made like a fake graphic that's doing the rounds, then I'll have to go back to my original thought, which is that they're doing it to help get Nakamura over. That's interesting. If that's not a thing, then it does change my. I do go back to what I originally thought. But that's interesting. Red Seagull. Jake said apparently Dutch and Vincent are on a Ring of Honor show in the coming weeks. Does that distance them from the Bray stuff? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know what their relationship would be. I mean, from what I heard, they've finished with Impact, and as far as I know, they're free. Brian Cage has tapped. Whether they're coming in to do, like, they've agreed to do a one-off date or something. Don't know. Interesting. Definitely that's something worth keeping an eye on. The Gates of Agony have jumped into the ring. Samoa Joe, every single match, has had a beatdown. What a shock. I was wrong. Tessa and Taya are all elites. Here's Wardlow making his way down. Leo said Jake Paul will be at Crown Jewel in his brother's corner. Nakamura is true. Sheamus and others are fake. Ah. I got sent a Sheamus one. I didn't realize it was a fake graphic. Well, then I go back to what I said before. I think that they're working with Noah to help get Nakamura over. I think it's great for him. I think it's great for them because, you know, Forbidden Door, all of that. Powerhouse Hobbs. But I think, like, it's brilliant for Nakamura, who we've heard rumors they want to make a big star in 2023. Certain electronic music can keep mosquitoes away, stop them from biting you, and even stop them from multiplying, said Kojiko. Right, on Friday, we've got Mike Tyson. He's going to be a special guest commentator. We got Shibata taking on Orange Cassidy. Next week, we've got an 8-man tag match with FTR and the Acclaimed taking on the Gun Club and Swerve and Keith Lee, I believe. And that is it for Dynamite this week. That is it for Dynamite. Get in your scores. What do you think about Dynamite? Again, I don't think you can... the cult stuff, I don't think you can blame AEW for that if you didn't think it was a big deal. They didn't say it was going to be a big deal. It was. It came from, as you said, Brian Alvarez, who was told something was going to happen that was going to blow up social media. So I wouldn't hold that against them. But just rating the show, looking at the show, Jeff Jarrett at the start, Shibata. I mean, surprise-wise, we did get Jeff Jarrett. We got Shibata. And you got, like, obviously Colt back after not seeing him for a while. So there was a few surprises in there. 4, 7, 6.5, 3.6, 2.5, 6 out of 9, 1, 6, 5. Blaze said you should bring back the brawl meter. I think we broke it, mate. I think AEW broke it. I forget the name, but someone in the chat said, does UFC oppose Full Gear? Well, I'll have a look. Is it the 19th? Have a look. UFC is the 13th. There is a show, of course, on the 19th. I mean, they run shows pretty much every Saturday, but it is just a fight night. It's a good fight night, though, in all fairness. Derek Lewis taking on Sergey Spivak is a pretty tasty main event heavyweight encounter. So quite a nice heavyweight encounter. I love UFC. I mean, I want to be watching these things, but does feel like AEW Full Gear might get the nod that weekend. But the 13th of November, 12th and 13th, which I think is the week before Full Gear. That's actually when it's UFC 281, and that's a really big show. So 7.27, 6.5, 6.25, Double J, Sting Carter, Lamar Jackson, Colt Shibata, Rick Ross, some decent surprises, but still a 6, says Blazed Radio. Blazed, hope you well, dude. David said 7.5. Tessa is toxic, but it's okay. We need more drama, said Raincler. Can't wait for Malachi to come back, says Moldy. Lister Jericho said, how was the show? Did I miss anything good? I mean, I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was an exceptional show or a great show, but I thought it was all right. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it was all right. I'm trying to think what sections did I really enjoy. I mean, we looked beforehand. There was 4 or 5 I was looking forward to. I think Saraya and Britt Baker was disappointing. I didn't get from that what I was hoping for. Jade Cargill, Marina Shafir, I just wanted to see how that match was going to be. There's always been a lot of talk around Marina Shafir, and to be honest, you can't really take much away from it. It was quite short. I mean, to be honest, it was Nyla and it was Vicky that were distracting, really. They came out and they were talking, and in a way, it feels a bit disrespectful to Marina, believe it or not, and Jade. Because there was obviously a focus elsewhere, which is a shame. Jericho against former Ring of Honor champion Colt. That was good. I thought the match was all right as well. Colt looking quite emotional. I feel like that's a talking point. Colt coming down looking, quite emotional, quite pleased to be back on TV. I would imagine probably a little uncertain of the reaction he's going to get as well, I mean, it's not his fault CM Punk's not there anymore, but he was spoken about during that media scrum. And, because of those comments, things resulted in what they resulted in. And I suppose for him standing backstage, how is he going to, what's the reception he's going to get, Is he going to be blamed for CM Punk not being there anymore? So I feel like if there is a talking point from that, it's probably the fact that he looked very emotional as he was making his way down, which I attribute to the fact of him being quite nervous, not knowing how the crowd are going to react to him. And actually, he got quite a warm reaction, got a nice response, actually, which I think will have meant a lot to him. I think that will have meant a lot to him. Maybe that added to the emotion as well. So certainly seemed to be quite emotional, dare I say humble, as he was making his way kind of down to the ring. So that was good. The daddy ass birthday stuff, I thought there was some fun stuff in there. I mean, I love the Acclaimed. So I thought there was some fun stuff there. It's good to see Darby. OC Luchasaurus Phoenix, I just wasn't really feeling. Jade Marina, wasn't really feeling. Saraya Britt Baker, yeah. Jericho, Colt, as we said, that was definitely a highlight of the show. Samoa Joe Cage, it was all right, wasn't it? It was all right as the main event goes. Moxley, Moriarty, it's just sort of there. I mean, I feel like it just shakes out to being quite average, doesn't it? I've sent you some graphics I saw regarding Sheamus at Noah, said Red Seagull. Okay. Well, if you're telling me they're fake, I believe you. Who are the other Ring of Honor champions Jericho might face? Nigel McGuinness is the one I'm waiting for. I would love for Nigel McGuinness to make his way down. Let's have a look. Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor champions. They have specified that it doesn't have to be someone that held the main championship. It can be people that can hold like any of the championships. But look in here, Claudio, Jonathan Gresham, Bandido, Roosh, PCO, Matt Taven, Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle. I think we've seen that. Cody, that ain't happening. Christopher Daniels, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Jay Briscoe, Michael Elgin, Kevin Steen, clearly not happening. Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, Roderick Strong, clearly not happening. Tyler Black, clearly not happening. Austin Aries. Hey, that'd be interesting. I don't know where he is now, Austin Aries. Where is he? Currently signed to Control Your Narrative, which I think, didn't they kind of wrap up when Braun Strowman went back to WWE? So they could absolutely bring in Austin Aries. Jerry Lynn, Nigel McGuinness, Takeshi Mashima. I don't know who that is. Homicide, Bryan Danielson, James Gibson, CM Punk. Probably not. Samoa Joe, Xavier, and Loki. So those are the main champions. Those are the former world champions. But you can go into like the pure championship and all the other championships, which is obviously going to open it out even further. Boom. Tyler Black won't be challenging Jericho. No. How is Kia's paw? Oh, she's doing better. She's got antibiotics now. We took her to the vet 'cause it wasn't healing, so it's better. It's like kindergarten in here tonight, said James. Dark Angel said, I eat at my house. Should I go to my neighbors to poop? Do it. Mr. DXZ said, have mercy if Aries comes in. It's already a chaotic AEW locker room. I only meant once. I wouldn't bring him in permanently, but I think he could definitely be a future opponent for Jericho. I think this is a really clever idea. Having Jericho going up against different champions. I think it's a really clever idea. This is the kind of thing that he should be doing if you want to build up the prestige, because what it is it's a great introduction to the history of Ring of Honor, and it's a great introduction to some of those former champions. And I didn't notice, to be honest, because obviously we were talking about what Colt being there meant, but I didn't notice if they showed footage of Colt as champion in Ring of Honor. I hope they did, because that's what I would be looking to do as they're coming down, show the footage, because Tony's got the rights, show the footage of when they were in Ring of Honor and when they were champion, and like some of their best moments, and talk about what belt they held and how long they held it for, you know, from 07 to 09, pure champion, how many title defenses. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a great way of saying this person used to be in Ring of Honor. They used to be a champion. They had this belt between this time frame. They had this many title defenses. They're regarded as one of the best pure champs, best world champs of all time. It's a lovely way of just giving you like a backstory to Ring of Honor. And you do that week after week after week as Jericho goes through and faces different champions. By the time we're getting into 2023, if you do this for a couple of months, by the time we're getting into 2023, even people that have never even heard of Ring of Honor will have a nice understanding of the history and understanding of the backstory. Have a good understanding of some of the key feuds, maybe. It's good. It's clever. I like it. And as I said, for me personally, I'm waiting to see that match when it's going to be Nigel McGuinness. There's a Ring of Honor YouTube, says Brandon. Is AEW shopping Ring of Honor around the networks? I haven't heard, to be honest. They should. They should be. Obviously, if they can get more TV time, that's going to be more ad revenue. And so that's going to be really, really good for them. Let's just say there is a miracle and Punk comes back. Will he face Jericho for the Ring of Honor belt? given what Jericho told Punk after All Out, I can see some stiff shots in that match. Well, I mean, look, if he comes back, he can't say I'm not going to work with, I think he would never work with Colt, right? He would never want to work with Colt, but my belief is that he doesn't care about Colt. He's doing his own thing. Whatever Colt does. Whatever he does, yeah? So he'd never do that. Outside of that, I'm not aware of anyone that he would refuse to work with. But after, if you're telling me that Jericho has made some comments, that's going to obviously rub CM Punk up the wrong way. It could be that, there's a few more names that's added to that list. That could be a problem as well if you're Tony Khan, because you don't need those restrictions. Do you know what I mean? You don't need your top stars not willing to work with each other. So, I don't know. If he comes back, it feels like there's a lot of conversations that need to be had here. I have to think that Tony would ideally like to keep him, because I think he has brought a lot of exposure. I think he does bring a lot to just the brand in general. CM Punk is a big star and he is a big name. So I have to think that Tony would like to keep a hold of him. But if there's not a way forward, if the Elite are like, we're going to go if he stays, maybe you've got quite a few people saying we're off if he stays. Maybe there's just no way forward. And so Tony has got to buy him out. There's nothing he can do. There's too much damage done. Maybe Jericho said, look, if he comes back, I'm off. And the Elite could have said the same. And so, Tony's looking at a situation where I either lose Jericho or I lose half my locker room. I lose half my main stars. And so it's not much of a decision to be made then, is there? I mean, you have to lose CM Punk. So it'll all come out eventually. It'll all come out and it'll be fascinating when it does. But what stipulations being put on certain things, and what CM Punk wants to stay, and what the Elite want if Punk's going to stay, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, none of that's been brought out into the public domain yet. He would refuse to work with the unprofessional EVP, said Travis. Asking Punk the time of day rubs Punk up the wrong way, said Jim. Do you think Jeff will help with creative? I think he could chip in, but I don't know that he's going to take a big slice of it, because I don't think Tony wants to give it up, to be honest. I don't think that he wants to relinquish that responsibility. I think it's something that he enjoys. So, I don't think he's going to want to let that go. So I've got to say that he could come in and definitely give pointers, and I'm sure there's people in there that are doing, giving pointers as well. But I don't know how much. I mean, what I would say is that I feel like Tony definitely needs someone to book Ring of Honor for him. I don't think he can be booking Dynamite, Rampage, Ring of Honor. I don't know who's booking Dark and Elevation. That might be Tony as well. His plate is full, man. He's going to have to start dishing some stuff out. And maybe Jeff does pick up on some things, but it ain't going to be Dynamite. Of all the things that Tony's going to let go, it ain't going to be Dynamite. So, but yeah, he could definitely take some of the slack. Most likely Roman will turn face next year. I don't see him and The Rock not embracing after the match, says Channel. Dark Angel said AEW needs more ex-WWE guys. Gimme. Right, we're done. There we go. So this week's show was so-so in the end. But we'll see where we get next week as we continue to build towards Full Gear. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate the support. And I will see you again on Friday for SmackDown. And I'm sure there'll be some sort of video that'll drop on the channel tomorrow. Bye for now.